I'm like, what?
All right, we should be live now.
All right.
We are live. Hello, Tupa. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good, boss. How you doing?
Doing great. Quite a lot of stuff going on. You know, we got the title episode, the Busch Gardens SCIF. Some interesting things happen at Busch Gardens.
Wild stuff.
Let's go ahead and shout out the chat before we get into some of this.
Sounds good.
Some music. Sorry, I was just kind of like, you know what? I feel like talking about this. Because a lot of, and then there's also that stuff with Michele Stratton. There's also some new stuff with the James Fox. So I was like, you know what? Let's just do a general news roundup. But you know, this Busch Gardens thing being kind of the it's kind of a big about.
It is. I mean, and you can kind of totally miss it if you didn't know about like all the little details of the minutia. Like you could totally miss this and not realize exactly what this is. But it's a big deal.
And you know, this I feel like there's a lot of different beats in ufology, right? There's like the political beat, the mummies beat, you know what I mean? And I think this harassment beat that we've been on is just kind of getting more and more like mainstream. Would you agree?
Yeah. It's a PR nightmare.
Riff for 1 second, I have to turn off my fan.
Got this issue where not only are these guys associated with the harassment and intimidation of like regular citizens, which is terrible, you know, but you also have through social media a record of them doing it to politicians, to scientists, to government officials, like a lot of people. And that kind of stuff just really, that's where when I say PR nightmare, I'm not saying that because they harassed, you know, like a mom or something, which they did.
Sure they did.
But it's because of how organized it was, and it spans not just civilians, politicians, government officials, staffers, scientists.
That, and we're going to cover even Matt Ford saying that senators see this stuff. And Lue Elizondo basically, TLDR, the big picture of what happened here is Lue Elizondo went to Busch Gardens, a amusement park in Virginia, with one of the worst serial harassers in the community. Been harassing people for years. And it kind of activated a lot of people that were like, a lot of people were really trying to not believe that Lue Elizondo was aware and or directing some of this really horrible behavior. And I think like this picture kind of solidified it for a lot of people. I know he's fully aware because we're going to go through like, what is Uplifting Tweets? What has he contributed to the subject? Like, what does he do? Because Lue Elizondo said, thanks for all you do. So we're going to cover all that. But before we do, we're going to shout out the chat. Oh yeah, we got Tupa today. Joined by Tupa.
Tupa in the mix.
Oh, with the nice music transition too. Thank you, sir. Bold Gambit. I got briefed into the legacy program by Dick Cheney at the Busch Gardens SCIF. Thank you, Bold Gambit. Luke Chambers. Love the Doomers chat. Honestly, it's scary how many people are spreading this end time solar flare 5th dimension stuff. Lil Poptard says Brew Elizondo. Emphasis says I meet all my insiders at SeaWorld. Ooh, that's the plug. Solar 33s. Solar flares ate my dog. I'm here for answers. Oh shoot.
Heart goes out to Solar Flare's dog.
Dougie Iba Fresh. Hey, for real though, I need the garden security to look into the empty bottles of Chardonnay all over the place. We really do.
Yep. Corks are everywhere.
Says, let's effing go. Heck yeah, from the Skyfire fam. Courage first. I have been at the big SCIF located below the brewery. A lot of big deals, contracts, and TSCI intelligence activity. Try Springs Tap Room. There we go. And Courage first with super chat, $10. Thank you, sir. The BG specialty margarita alone makes the day trip worth it. Hot honey margarita, only $13.99. There you go. The Busch Gardens hot honey margarita. Derek Duggery says, to enter the SCIF, you shoot a water gun into a clown's mouth and a secret trapdoor opens, which leads to an infinite hall of fun houses. Yeah, so a lot of people are making jokes about it. We'll just shout out some more of the names. Diego Garza, HS. I have a bush, but not as big as a garden. Jorge. Dried Mangoes, bunch of people in here tonight. Alexander, Tylerius, FTC, Rich Universe. Oh, how's it going, bud? Heck yeah.
What's up, Rich?
Fort Minor. Oh, Michael Padilla is here too. Let's go. We got a fun night. Now, this isn't really like it's not a fun topic, right, Tupa? Like, it's definitely not one I enjoy. I much rather look into like old cases and stuff from like the 50s.
Absolutely.
But this is something that's totally affecting ufology. And we're going to show you guys, they really want to paint this crazy, coordinated, very sophisticated harassment mechanism they have as just kind of like dumb drama, right? And it's not that. It's narrative control. It's counterintelligence narrative control. And now we're kind of seeing it percolate up too, to where a lot of this narrative control is used to push this narrative that is about Lue Elizondo that is being kind of teared to shreds these days.
It's getting intense out there for Lue. I didn't think that he'd have so many people close to him turn on him all at one time. This was kind of predicted, right? I mean, people were talking about how, like it was Green Street. He was mentioning how there's been a fracture. And then that was in a space of like hours, right? And then that night, didn't Corbell and George Knapp attempt to put like an end to that rumor? Like, oh no, we're all good, you know? And that's kind of so weird because then they weren't all good. Yet basically you had Eric Davis, a lot of people that Lue has been vouching for and like trying to prop up in these recent interviews are like the ones that are turning on him.
It's so awkward, isn't it? Isn't it so awkward, dude?
Yes. It's like,
dude, that's my best friend. And
he's a genius. He's a certified genius. Then like, yeah. That guy's like lying, dude. Like, all right.
Reminds me in Superbad when Michael Cera goes to that party with that guy and he's like thinking it's all cool and then like, fuck that guy.
What are you doing here?
It's like so awkward. But before we get into all that, let's first go to some new stuff about the James Fox documentary, The Program.
Ooh.
It's been through all this kind of craziness. You know, Jason Sands went public a few months back. When was this? April? So yeah, like 6 months now.
Wow.
Half a year ago.
Wow.
And this was said at the time from James Fox, documentary filmmaker, who I am personally a fan of. What about you, Tupa?
Huge fan. Huge fan.
Right?
He's doing great stuff.
Project Unity, friend of the show, says, do you think Jason Sands is a legit whistleblower from a highly secretive program and has interacted with NHI beings and was forced, as he stated, into a 20-year and back style program? Now, I think that was a little bit of... Jason was really loose in his space, and that 20-year and back thing isn't as... I don't think he necessarily said that, but still, his claims should all be, scrutinized, and he's made himself very available to all that. So, but James Fox says it's more complicated than a short answer. Oh, and sorry, the premise of all this is one of the whistleblowers in this upcoming documentary, who right here, James Fox posted this picture in like January, and then of course it has Jason Sands' name on it, right? And then so everyone kind of found him, and kind of not forced him out, but like, you know, he kind of wanted to come out too on his own, I guess, but also his name was out there. So I don't know if he would have come out if his name wasn't out there like this. So he comes out in a Twitter space. He gives like a 6-hour Twitter space answering all these questions. I could tell that it was at least serious or noteworthy in the community because, like, I think Ross Coulthart was in the audience, Leslie Keane was in the audience, and it was just this like kind of random account at the time, right? He only had like 30 followers. It was a new account with like an emoji picture. So we could tell something was up. And, you know, Jason Sands has been a nice little member of the community there on UFO Twitter. So shouts out to that. He's actually, you know what, to his credit, he calls out this harassment pretty hardcore. You know what I mean?
He's seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah, it's not hard. So here's the trailer. Now, mind you, going into this.
What's the price tag on this bad boy?
Yeah, the price tag. So I don't know if you guys remember, but James Fox's last documentary, he got kind of, what's the word? Like, scammed, right? Or just defrauded?
Yeah, defrauded. Like basically his production company raked in a lot of money from, you know, playing his last movie. They were distributing it through different social media platforms, not social media, but like streaming platforms. And it was like the second most streamed movie online underneath Avatar, The Way of the Water or whatever, the Avatar sequel. So it was like huge at one point. And he waited for his check. They kept saying they're going to send the check, and then they never sent it. He never got paid a single dime from that movie. Then the company like dissolves, and like the guy just, or I don't know if it dissolves or what happened.
That's messed up. Whatever you got to say about James Fox and his documentaries, like, dude, that's messed up.
It's like, really bad.
Work on something and not get paid. And, like,
it's so bad.
And then for it to be like sending, but like you're not getting it. You know what I mean? Like, bittersweet. Like it's the top documentary, but you're not getting any of that money. Like people love it, but you're just not getting any of it. Dude,
there was a assistant kind of camera guy on that production for the Virginia case. The next one, The Moment of Contact. That's the one. The Moment of Contact. That's the one he got hosed on. So on that production, Alyssy, the producer for Julian Dory's podcast. Remember that?
Yeah,
he was
on
yeah,
that one.
he was on that production. Crazy. So that's James Fox's stuff.
So that's his last documentary. So then in this one, right, he's kind of walking on extra cautious grounds, I would say. But then there was the Jason Sands leak, and it kind of, people were now all digging into Jason Sands. Some people saying he's legit, some people saying he's not legit. People wondering if he's going to get cut from the movie. There was all this kind of weird stuff with him doing interviews. You know what I mean? He did an interview on a show, showed his face, and then somebody from this documentary, the program, reached out and basically asked them to take it down. And then there was this whole thing with like a few weeks ago, he was looking for a buyer, right? He was like, I need $200,000 to like finish this film, right? That was what happened before he announced the $60,000 trailer price.
Yeah, he needed money for, I think, for a distribution deal.
Yeah, and I should have pulled that, but there's a bunch of stuff I pulled for this, so it's going to be a pretty packed episode. But yeah, he did a few months back. He was like, I need money. I want to do it the right way. I want to do it my way. A friend of the show, Kent Reynolds, actually offered, but he ended up going out with someone else. And then the date got pushed back because I think it was already supposed to have been out by now. But now it got pushed back, I think, to the end of October, beginning of November. And this trailer he announced a few weeks back. And the reason why it kind of caught the community's attention and my attention and Tupa's attention, especially since we edited a lot of stuff, and I am working still on my documentaries on this channel. The price tag for the trailer alone, he said, the trailer's dropping in 2 weeks, and it costs $60,000 at the editing editing house, which is, I mean, it's a lot of money. I hope everybody who hears that recognizes that me and Tupa put all of our documentaries out for free. Not to knock on James or anything, but this is I think this is like a minute and a half for like $60,000.
It's a lot. It's a lot for a trailer. But I mean, hell, if it's good enough, I mean, why not? I mean, but that is the budget of some like very low budget films.
Right? That's
so
a lot.
Yeah, but maybe it meets a standard. And I'm gonna say this after I have some notes after we watch it.
Okay, yeah, because I don't think I watched it. I saw it was there, and I was like, maybe let's just kind of watch it live, and let's just do it now.
2017, the New York Times published a story exposing a secret government program investigating UFOs.
That story was kind of a catalyst for a lot of things that have happened since. Members of Congress started to ask questions.
Instruments report there is something there. There are flight characteristics that we can't explain.
UAPs are unexplained. It's true. They need to be investigated.
Here we are having a hearing where just a few years ago, we didn't even acknowledge that these things were real.
Do you believe that our government is in possession of UAPs?
Absolutely, based on interviewing over 40 witnesses over 4 years.
You're telling me people have come forward claiming firsthand knowledge of craft of non-human origin?
That's correct. We have sources who have asserted not only that there have been crashes, but there have been crash retrievals.
Do we have the body?
Pause real quick. That guy we just saw, I think it's gonna be weird about it. He's one of the staffers for, I think, like Marco Rubio or Gillibrand, one of the senators. So the guy who just said we have crash retrieval, basically. So that's kind of a big statement from that person. So that's a W, I guess. Just some context there.
These are the pilots who piloted this craft.
Biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Were they human or non-human?
Non-human.
I'm sitting here today because the American people are being lied to.
We are the American government, and we are open, and we're going to be open about this. What has been revealed,
non-human intelligence exists. Non-human intelligence has been interacting with humanity.
Is only part of the story.
The pressure's on. The Pentagon, the CIA, they're going to have to answer the mail.
Some are risking everything.
Have you had incidences that have caused you to be in fear for your life?
Yes, personally.
To uncover the rest.
What is being done to verify the assertion that the U.S. government has spaceships of non-human intelligence in their possession?
That kind of revelation unearths people's beliefs.
I would go to jail to say things that I've been exposed to in the program.
All right, Tupa, what are your thoughts, sir?
Right away, huge mistake in the film. I don't know if you noticed, but the frame rate of the film looks, or the trailer seems like it's at like maybe 30 frames a second, maybe even 50 frames a second, which is not good. Not good at all. What happened there? Professional theater, professional films, professional trailers, these are always done at 24 frames a second. Once you get past that, it looks very digital. It looks very weird. They accomplished that they did that for some reason. I hope it wasn't on purpose. The price tag.
Notice that's what it was. I could see something like that, and I hate that it's always like I'm trying to be a hater. I think it like the trailer I think kind of hit. The price tag is a lot, but I do know what you're talking about, where it kind of looks like digital. It's like a mix. It was especially when it goes between like the C-SPAN shots and the like film shots. You know, you kinda...
Dude, Derek, you see, Derek, it's 80K for 24 frames per second. They couldn't pay the 24 FPS price tag on that one. But yeah, weird choice on that. The motion graphics with like the paper with the redacted things, and then even the final motion graphics like for the program part. That's all that was pretty stock. I mean, in a good way, don't get me wrong, but the price tag, if the price tag didn't include promotion and distribution of the trailer, then it shouldn't have costed that much. That's what I'll say about that. And I say that as someone who's worked in videography editing for like 15 years, like professional clients for commercial work.
Yeah, you've done a lot of like really good music videos and like commercials for like businesses and stuff like that.
Dude, I worked for Instacart,
yeah,
Walmart, Aldi. Like, you know what I mean? I've made a lot of very interesting little projects, but I know the budgets of how these things work. I've had to put these things together. My production company was very small, but you know, so I get it. I get how productions work and how the price tag could stack up. But the edit on this, you know, I wonder. I'd want to know if it included distribution, because I did see it on like Screen Rant and stuff. But I will say that James Fox's reputation is like so good, right? That like even if he put the trailer out himself, if he distributed himself, it would still catch on and make its way throughout all of the, like even the YouTube community would pick it up. So very interesting, because he's not a nobody. He's
not a nobody. And like his last one sent, and his first one, especially the Phenomenon before the Vajrayana one, pretty fire. And you know, this is a good time. It looks like he was there for a lot of this stuff. He was there at a NASA hearing. He was at this hearing. It's cool to have somebody with like the mind's eye, right? Of like, let's capture this on film, like to present. You know what I mean? Let's have like an intention behind it. You know, let's not just have the expand stuff, but like let's get some good shots, some artistic shots. You know, some.
Yeah, he's got some good interviews, man. He's got some big names in this.
Jimmy says, when do we get actual evidence? Something substantial. How long can we continue to just accept story after story with nothing really being shown to prove said stories? I mean, I totally agree. I totally agree. And, you know, we did say there was this guy who is, where is he at? This guy. Shoot, I forget his name right now. Sorry, I should have looked that up too. But I didn't see the trailer yet. But I just recognize him because he was at that one Kirkpatrick meeting with Brandon Fugel where he got busted. So this is kind of a big name. I think he helped draft some of the legislation throughout the years too. I think he's kind of been one of the really big, and again, this is a staffer for either Senator Rubio or Senator Gillibrand, both who have been kind of big on the UFO legislation front. So him on camera, that's cool. And then, yeah, did you see at the end, dude? Should we play this last little Hal clip? We got, this guy's been MIA, right? Oh, and Gary McKinnon too.
Yeah, right.
Does that mean the Disclosure Bros are co-signing the Gary McKinnon story?
I don't know. I think so, dude.
I think it does,
right? Too. Yeah, this is like more exciting to me than Jason Sands. No offense to Jason.
That's
great guy.
Jason Sands. Yeah. T-Cog says Kirk McConnell. Yes, thank you, T-Cog. This is Kirk McConnell, staffer for John McCain, and then I think he went on to someone else though too. But he's definitely been up in the mix for this UFO legislation. And then, yeah, wait, where's the Gary? James looking good.
Turtleneck blazer.
Yeah, situation. I like it. That's what's up. Carl Nell, okay. What else do we got? Oh, Brian Bender. I'm kind of surprised. He, you know, he said some things like a few years ago. He's like, I feel manipulated by the 2017 crowd when I wrote that, because he was one of the people too in 2017 who like wrote
You're right.
a political article.
I forget
so
about him.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised to see him in this, but you know, oh wait,
Again,
shoot.
there was
oh man, we are all over the place here.
Back to the SCIF.
In 2007.
There you go. Brian Bender, Luna, Burchett, nice. Look at, I mean, that's a professional. I've never done that, Tupa. So why don't you tell me, what do we got going on here? This is pretty professional, like setup he's got going on everywhere, right?
Yeah. I love that there's just this extra shot of the crew too. It's like, this is a serious production. Take a look.
I mean, I like it. I actually do like it. It's working on me.
It's absolutely good. It just, once you examine it and dissect it, then it becomes like different. You know what I mean? Because at first it's like, oh shit, this is a serious production. Like, these guys are really killing it.
Wait, where was the Gary McKinnon? Was he literally just in it for like a shot?
Less than a second. Probably 12 frames, dude. Like,
dude, it really was just like a single shot.
Uh-huh. I wasn't even sure what I saw when he popped up.
Dude, I don't know. I'm just gonna try it one more time, and if we don't see it, but yeah, at the end there was Hal Puthoff too.
Yeah, Hal Puthoff,
which
Leslie
we never
Keane.
see anywhere. Dude, where the hell is Gary McKinnon? Wow. Well, we saw Gary McKinnon, so let's just do this for the Gary McKinnon stuff. So yeah, I mean, dude, I feel like James Fox is kind of, he does do his own independent thing, but like I said, there was that tweet where he's like, there's people in the circle who don't want this stuff getting out, right? I don't even know if you actually read that tweet. I'm all over the place right now, sorry. But if he's kind of like part of the whole greater disclosure push, right? Would you agree? Like, he's kind of like one of these, you know, media outlets, and he's kind of done a good job not going like full Matt Ford with it. You know what I mean? But he still kind of does. And I think, well, with like good intentions, right? He's definitely a true believer. He kind of stays within, you know, kind of like what the American Disclosure Movement wants to talk about. Do you feel me on that?
Yeah, he does kind of stay within the lines of what's going on. You know, I think that like one of the reasons why he has access is because his platform works as a dual platform, both for his own artistic endeavors, right, and also for people like Hal and, you know, people like that are pushing for disclosure. You know, he's given access to these guys because he's good at what he does, but also there's some kind of alignment. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I think, and so to the Gary McKinnon thing, and it literally must have been in there for a second, which is crazy that I landed on it that one time. But I think they're kind of co-signing that story. And if you guys don't remember, Gary McKinnon, he claims to have, and I actually have a bunch of stuff saved for a documentary on this that'll be sick, but it's probably going to be a few down. But I collect media for everything all the time. He hacked NASA in like 2002. And like is said to have downloaded all these things, and it was kind of viewed as kind of like a gray bin, you know what I mean? But I would imagine James Fox consulted like Chris Mellon and, you know what I mean, McConnell. So yeah, I don't know. I kind of think that means, to me, it means that that crowd at least kind of maybe thinks the Gary McKinnon story is legit. And then at the end, yeah, we have, oh, look at, there it was. Boom. Okay, there he is. There he is, Tupa. So yeah, this guy in 2002 or so hacked NASA, and basically, like, he had stuff that said, like, we had basically like Serpo level stuff where there was like an exchange program, and there was like humans and aliens working together in space on ships. He I don't think he downloaded any of it, but it kind of led to this really interesting like extradition battle between the US and the UK during the Obama administration. And it's pretty, I don't know if funny is the right word, but honestly, it made me laugh. I guess he's like autistic or something like that. And so they had, they turned into this like whole autistic movement. And while there were these like trials in like the UK, there was like the British Autistic Society or something like that. A bunch of like people like outside protesting, like, don't extradite Gary McKinnon. Did you know that?
No, I had no idea.
Yeah. Is that pretty crazy? And then they ended up not extraditing, but it was this whole kind of battle between Obama and I forget who the prime minister of the UK was at the time. Was it Blair or something like that? Yeah, it was this whole thing. It was all over like it was like a mainstream thing. It was kind of interesting. Like the news when they were covered at the time, they never really touched on like the UFO aspect of it. but they just kind of viewed it as like, because he hacked NASA and he hacked a bunch of other super like classified places where he shouldn't have been. So they just kind of viewed it as a broad extradition case, but still, nevertheless, pretty interesting. And then here at the end, we got Hal Puthoff. Let's watch this part.
I would go to jail to say things that I've been exposed to in the program.
Was that a confession on the harassment and doxing of the UFO community?
That's the program.
What do you think he's talking about there?
Either secret tech or crash retrieval, or a combination of both.
No, there's no real clear, like, well, I guess Lue's book kind of did it, right? Where, I mean, if we're to believe Lue, which honestly, like, I don't even know if that's like a thing anymore. Where he says like Hal Puthoff briefed him on all these things, like Roswell was real, so-and-so is real. But he doesn't really say in the book like how Hal would have known that. And I don't think it's really like clear, right? As of now, like, where does Hal get this information from? Is he just getting it from books, or from what years to what years was he in said program? We know he was part of NIDS with Bigelow. We know he was part of SRI, which is doing like remote viewing stuff, and that was all kind of fairly documented. But as far as like crash retrieval, stuff like that, I don't know.
Very vague. He's a very vague figure, but you know, if he's saying something, it's because he wants us to know it. You know.
LOL. Derek says NASA was using password for password, and that's how Gary McKinnon got it. It's pretty funny. Yeah, Gary McKinnon is the UK guy's name, and this is Hal Puthoff. Yeah. Have you seen the Morgan Arts Council interview with Hal Puthoff? No, I haven't. I should check it out. But yeah, okay. And then Jesse Michaels dropped something with James Fox, friend of the show, Jesse Michaels, who will definitely have on a stream and a few streams, probably in a little bit here. But let's.
U.S. Air Force.
He had Jason Sands. Look at a young Jason Sands there. Oh, but it's kind of interesting. Listen to what. Have you seen this clip yet from the Jesse Michaels interview?
I don't know. I don't think so. Is this the one? This is.
Listen to how he talks about the Jason Sands thing. He got a lot of heat. There's been so much like controversy around Jason Sands. It's been. I don't think I've seen like a documentary, especially one of like a James Fox level, have this kind of weird rollout like this. Well, let's watch this.
Master Sergeant Jason Sands was stationed at the nearby Nellis Air Base with the 67th Intelligence Group at the time.
This previous week, the UFO came on the range, flew right by what we called the schoolhouse, because that's where we did the training, and it went down into the valley and continued on. So they have actual video of it, and that's what you see out there in the public, this Nellis Range UFO.
P1 control doesn't know what type of aircraft it is either.
That's his truth. Yeah. We have the names of the other on-duty military personnel.
Yes.
We have a location and we have a date.
Yes. Yeah.
I opted to report on it, even though I can't prove that it happened.
Yeah.
But I think it's a pretty compelling account.
What's the location?
It was, Nellis Testing Range in Nevada. 1994. It was August.
You could tell he's been getting so much shit behind the scenes about Jason Sands, huh?
Yeah, it's a loaded topic now. Like
feel bad for him. He's like, I don't know what to do, bro.
So that video is Jason Sands is kind of corroborating that video. Like,
I guess so.
Wild.
What are your thoughts on that?
Very cool. I'd like to see that clip again. That video is probably public now, but everybody must have it.
U.S. Air Force Master Sergeant Jason Sands was stationed at the nearby Nellis Air Base with the 67th Intelligence Group at the time.
This previous week, the UFO came on the range, flew right by what we called the schoolhouse, because that's where we did the training, and it went down into the valley and continued on. So they have actual video of it, and that's what you see out there in the public.
So yeah, it's this video, which I think you've seen before, right? I've seen it.
Yeah, it's familiar.
It's definitely interesting. Definitely an interesting video. No doubt, dude. Definitely, I think there's already like 10 debunks for it too. But let's just kind of watch what he says again too, because remember he was like, "There's people in the circle who can't." Oh yeah.
Nellis Range UFO.
P1 control doesn't know what type of aircraft it is either.
That's his truth.
Yeah.
We have the names of the other on-duty military personnel.
Yes.
We have a location and we have a date.
Yes.
I opted to report on it, even though I can't prove that it happened.
Yeah.
But I think it's a pretty compelling account.
What's the location?
It was, Nellis Testing Range in Nevada, 1994.
So yeah, if you recall, this is what he said when Jason Sands came out. As a citizen, I never imagined I would be limited to what I can share right now. I want full transparency, but I risk being thrown out of the circle if I say the wrong thing at the wrong time. ... Quite frustrating. Please give me time.
Whoops, saying the quiet part out loud.
Doesn't that seem like a low-key like SOS, like blinking, like save me kind of thing?
It's weird. It's weird is to state that there's a circle and then that you're in it, and that the only reason you can't share something is because you risk being kicked out of a circle. It's like, ladies and gentlemen, don't get yourself involved in circles like this. You know what I mean? You should be able to talk about whatever you want.
That's a good point. Yeah, you should never be doing like ... and like, I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point. What did you tweet? And Greenwald tweeted it today too. Is like the people like if you I forget what it was. Something about like lying in information.
Oh, if you want to find out who's lying, like it's the people who are telling you like not to talk to other people, like not to.
Oh, nice! You got a last minute somebody joining us. Let's see who it's gonna be. Sorry, but yeah, sorry.
Oh, I'm excited. Dude, we got Area 503 in the mix in the chat. Good to see you, man.
That's who it is. Heck yeah.
Oh, what's up, dude? That's gonna be sick.
Just in time, so we could get into the Busch Gardens SCIF. And
yeah, let's get out of this James Fox.
Because I like James, and I feel for him. I honestly I read this tweet and I'm like, James, like, are you okay, bro? Like, do you need help? Like, do you need someone to talk to? Because a lot of the times, honestly, bro, like this UFO media game is so weird, and we're gonna see actually like how weird it gets with this Busch Gardens SCIF stuff, and it's weird for us at this like super low level. I can only imagine how weird it is for this guy up here at that level, dude. Like, probably, yeah. So, my heart goes out to you, James. We got, oh heck yeah! So let's go over. We got the Busch Gardens SCIF. And
let's go.
We got Manny 503. Let's go. Woo!
What is up, Manny? How you doing, man?
What's up, Tupa? What's up, Brad? Thanks for having me on.
We got an echo on your end, I think.
Oh yeah, let me turn that off. I was listening to you. I popped in to listen on my phone. Been working all day, but I need to take a break and get away from that stuff, man. You spend too much time in After Effects, and that's all you start seeing are keyframes. And, app plugins. And
it's a nightmare, dude. Yes. Escape the prison, the keyframe prison.
Yeah. So for my audience, Manny did the documentary "Who's Lue," which I do cite at the beginning of my Lue documentary. He deep dive into Lue Elizondo dropped in January 2022, about 2 years ago, and very insightful, very what's the word, like thorough, but also kind of like is one of the early points where kind of this these red flags around Lue started to really percolate, where some of his story didn't really check out as said, and also as we're going to cover here, some of the pushback that came around Lue Elizondo. Which, as we're also going to cover later at the end here, is like it's bad, this harassment operation he's got that's helped maintain this lie that now even all the people around him are like, this is a lie. It's like all these things kind of feed into each other, how we got here. But yeah, Manny, is there anything that you want to say in general before we get into like going through some of this Busch Gardens stuff?
Yeah. Was that Gary McKinnon I saw earlier when I popped in?
Oh yeah, actually, is there anything you wanted to say about that if you're watching?
U.S. Air Force in 2000.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned Gary, because I had a run-in with Gary like right after Who's Lue came out. He messaged me on Twitter, where he was active on the platform, and he let me know that he thought I'd done a really good job. He was very, very skeptical and questioning of the UFO Bros story. And he was like, hey, I'm glad that somebody's out there doing the work that you did. Like it was really informative and answered a lot of questions that I had.
Wow.
Yeah. And he had also told me that at that point, we stayed in touch for a few months after that, and then I lost contact with him because his Twitter account got banned for some reason. But in the few months that I had been, talking back and forth with him, he had clued me in on a few things. Like one was that Jim Fox was over there in England, and that he had interviewed him for something, and now we know what that's for. He's going to use part of it here. And then the other thing he said, and this is something that not a lot of people know, is that when Gary was locked up and they were trying to extradite him back to the States for prosecution, There was a woman by the name of Carol Rosen who championed his cause and came to visit him in prison, who put together kind of like funding and go like kind of GoFundMe type stuff to go get him attorneys who, championed for him. And he said that she was very pivotal in getting him out of prison. And if people go back to the Disclosure Project, Carol Rosen is the woman who was Werner von Braun's kind of tutor, right? The one who talked about how he told her about there would be a false flag alien invasion and all that stuff. That testimony from the Disclosure conference, the first one. That's the same Carol, same woman. It's Carol Rosen, and I thought that was really cool. Like, Gary's got a lot of respect. He's like, he even told me straight up, he said, I'd still be in jail if it wasn't for Carol, yeah, that's her right there.
Interesting, because I don't necessarily, I kind of doubt her story a little bit. I don't know where you guys are on her. She definitely, she says that's where the whole Project Bluebeam stuff comes from, right? She's like, Werner von Braun told me first it would be the communists, then the terrorists, then the fake aliens, right?
Yeah. That's the first time I heard the whole story was from her, by way of Werner von Braun, and again, it's hearsay. So do we even really know, you got to kind of take it with a grain of salt. And as everyone knows, I'm not real big on testimony and hearsay. Like if there's an assigned document with Werner von Braun saying, yes, this is what's going to happen, I'm going to question it. But it is an interesting story. And I thought it was interesting that she has these current day ties to Gary McKinnon and was championing for him.
That's cool, right? Cool. Even if her story's fake, that's pretty cool that she did that. And I had no idea that she was involved in this thing. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. And then another thing about the phenomenon or the program here, it's kind of interesting. There's a backstory with one of the producers on there that's kind of a player behind the scenes that not a lot of people know about. It's a guy by the name of Jim Martin. He was a producer on this film. He's also was a producer on The Phenomenon and has a very good working relationship with Jim Fox. And some of the people, if you go and look, Jim Martin was one of the two executives at 1091 Pictures, which was a distributor that hosed everybody over from Jim Fox on The Phenomenon to Darcy Weir got caught up in that. I mean, anyone who had a picture that was in this kind of genre got kind of hosed when they stopped paying their bills. And I can extrapolate a little bit on that. In that what happened was, let's just roll it back to just the beginning real quick, and I'll keep this short. But there used to be a film company, a distributor called The Orchard, and that's where Jim Martin cut his bones. And they said at The Orchard, they were like, "Hey, we need to expand we're looking for new markets." Well, Jim Martin is a UFO, calls himself an experiencer. He's a CE5 guy. He sits out in front of his house in California and he channels UFOs, films them. He's had him on a couple of TV shows and a couple of movies. He's definitely a UFO guy. And he said, "Hey, this UFO thing is untouched. Let's start snagging up everybody." So The Orchard snags up a bunch of people. The Orchard gets in trouble financially and is bought out by 1091 Pictures. And Jim Martin goes with them, gets hired onto the new one. Yep, that's him right there. Some people might recognize him from some TV shows. Go look him up. He's been on a couple of UFO shows and things like that. But he's also the producer. He was the executive. So he's over at 1091 Pictures. 1091 Pictures is owned by a company called Screen Media, which is a bigger Hollywood distributor as well. They've got some big name films in there, but it's more of like lower mid-end stuff. They do have some big name pictures. 1091's owned by Screen Media. Screen Media is owned by Chicken Soul for the Soup for the Soul Entertainment, which if some people might remember an old book that was popular way back in the day called Chicken Soup for the Soul. It talked about how to make yourself better and things like that. When that book became popular, the original owners started a entertainment company and then sold it to this other guy who ran it into the ground. And that's where you kind of see what happened today or recently. And so what happened was Chicken Soup for the Soul acquired Redbox a couple of years ago on its way out. Like, why anyone would buy Redbox, and it was a insanely huge price, 500 million or something like that they put out for Redbox, thinking that they were going to get a bunch of money come in from it. It didn't happen. Yeah, right, because everybody knows what Redbox was. It was dead 10 years ago. Why'd you buy it 2 years ago? But they bought it. Their stock prices tanked. I just looked it up last night. Their stock price is down under a penny. Before they bought Redbox, it was, up in the $4 or $5 range. It wasn't anything great, but the point being, they lost a lot of money. They bled the company dry. So they tell Screen Media and 1091, continue to collect on these movies that you guys have that you're distributing. Just stop paying the filmmakers, which is shady as fuck. Don't get me wrong. That is that's the lowest of low. That's the only thing you like in the film business. What else can you do to screw somebody over if you're a distributor? You got one job, put their film out there and then pay them. You know, like that's it.
Yeah.
You're kind of middlemaning, you know, like, so it's kind of interesting to see that Jim Fox still has this relationship with Jim Martin, when Jim Martin is the guy who was at 1081 Pictures along with another guy by the name of Danny Grant. Danny quit when they stopped paying their people. He's just like, screw this. I can't do this anymore. I can't look at these people in the face. I can't look at their emails and, blow them off. Jim Martin stayed on and did that. And now here he is with Jim Fox too. And so I thought it was really, it was interesting, especially considering how vocal Jim Fox was about it on Twitter, where he's like, oh, they're trying to screw me. They're trying to silence me. They're trying to, all this stuff. And I was like thinking to myself the whole time, like, dude, no, like that's your business. That's your boy. That's your business partner. Like if anyone can make it right, he should be able to help you there. But apparently he wasn't. I don't know. And like I said, a lot of people got screwed there. There's a Northwest film company here that had like 3 different movies that 1091 had on Bigfoot and things like that, more esoteric things. And they reached out to me and said, hey, do you know how we can get out of this contract? They haven't paid us in months. We just, we're not trying to get our money back. We just want rights to our films so we could take them to another distributor and try to make money, which a lot of people were trying to do. But 1091 wouldn't do that because they were going to try to sell the assets in bankruptcy to another company. It was shady.
That's
and it was
so messed up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's some backstory there, and I would be really curious to know why Jim Fox even talks to this Jim Martin guy when he was responsible for that stuff. Like, or maybe I shouldn't say Jim Martin was responsible for it because he really wasn't. I mean, it was the parent company of his parent company who told him what to do, and he did it. So it's not like he made the choice to screw these people over. I don't think he did. But going back to when they had the phenomenon came out, they treated Jim Fox really well. They put a huge marketing budget towards that. If you believe the rumors, it was upwards of $1 million they put towards marketing for that film. On top of all the social media marketing, the grassroots marketing that we saw, folks like Christopher Mellon, Lue Elizondo, other people on social media doing too. So they threw some big money at that, and it was largely successful for him. That's why I was kind of shocked to hear him begging for money. I was like, dude, Jim, you made enough off of the phenomenon. You should have been able to put some of that away for your next movie. Like you shouldn't be asking anyone for money. I mean, I don't know. I mean, some people in the business will never fund their own films. That's just the number one thing. They're like, don't make your own movies with your own money. Always have somebody else go the other way. But as far as I'm concerned, that's the opposite. I would never ask someone to pay for something that I could do myself. And so I'm going to self-fund my own stuff, and one is that I want to own it. I don't want to give somebody 60% ownership to fund it or whatever, I want to own my products. So maybe that's just me. But yeah, there's some backstory on that if people were interested, and we can move on unless anyone's got any questions about it.
What did you think about this tweet he had when Jason Sands came out and he was all being kind of cryptic about the circle? I'll read it again. As a citizen, I never imagined I would be limited to what I can share right now. I want full transparency, but I risk being thrown out of the circle if I say the wrong thing at the wrong time. ... Quite frustrating. Please give me time.
Yeah, that kind of aggravates me. I mean, he's saying right there, look, if I go out and say what I want to say, or if I bring out, what I know, then I'll get kicked out and they won't give me any more information. So he's telling you right now where his allegiance lies, and that's with this group of people, and not the truth and not the public. That he cares more about having access to these people so that he can continue to make these films and documentaries and be on the quote unquote inside, than he does about actually telling the truth about what's going on. And that bothers the shit out of me.
Yeah. I agree. It's exactly that. His allegiance lies in the access, and he's convinced himself that he can do more good from the inside, which is classic. It's classic. But
I don't know. I kind of feel for him. I kind of feel like he's trapped a little bit. But I do get what you guys are saying, and I'm glad you said it because I didn't really think of that way before.
No, but Red, haven't we heard that so many times? Like, I'm just trying to work both sides, this access. There's what I mean? It's constant. It's constant with this stuff. And if the sources are lying about one thing to excuse another, and we know that, then we have to imagine that's happening probably more often than we even know about. Maybe more often than we even think, right? Lying about one thing to excuse another thing. And it's just running, that kind of thing is rampant throughout this entire community at that level. From how did this trailer start, right? Wasn't it Leslie Keane saying 2017 article kicked it all off?
Yeah.
And isn't there a clip of George Knapp saying that there was so many inconsistencies and inaccuracies in that article that were never corrected? So it's telling you this thing was built on lies.
We're just watching a dumpster fire just roll down.
Right.
Oh man. All right. Well, let's get into the Busch Gardens stuff.
U.S. Air Force Master.
Boom. So the Busch Gardens SCIF. So this is gonna get. So as I said, there's all this debate about whether Lue Elizondo knows about the harassment or not. And basically, he went to an amusement park with one of the worst harassers. So before we kind of get into some combo about who it is, this Mr. Uplifting Tweets / disclosure memes. First, because there's one, and all of us on the panel here are fully aware and have been affected and had our non-UFO family members affected by this crazy harassment that exists in this community. For speaking out against certain narratives, one of which being Lue Elizondo and his claims. But not only that, right? There's been a really big effort to like make people in the UFO community just kind of view this as drama and not worth talking about. So before we even get into any of that, let's just look at some other people saying how serious this is.
It's disheartening.
This is NASA's first ever UFO hearing, right? People have been wanting this since like what, the 60s, since NASA was founded. And this was last year, 2023. And I think a lot of the community was shocked, right? Because even at that time, Tupa and Manny here too, and myself, we'd kind of been raising the alarm about this harassment. And the way the community is designed with these counterintelligence agents and their little media assets is it just all swept under the rug. Like, don't look at it. It's not happening. So then at NASA's first ever hearing, like 3 of the panelists speak about it. And it's all from the same group, mind you. That's an important thing to note. It's all for narrative control. It's all for that stuff. But let's just kind of watch this.
To note that several of them have been subjected to online abuse due to their decision to participate on this panel. And NASA's security team is actively addressing this issue.
Training dogs.
We at NASA are acutely aware of the considerable public interest in UAP. However, it's critical to understand any form of harassment towards our panelists only serves to detract from the scientific process, which requires an environment of respect and openness. Now, every member of our team is a recognized authority in their respective field, and they have our unequivocal support. NASA stands in solidarity with them, advocating for a respectful discourse that befits their expertise and the significance of their work. Thanks.
Before I begin, though, I really do want to double down on Dan's words that it is really disheartening to hear of the harassment that our panelists have faced online, all because they're studying this topic. NASA stands behind our panelists, and we do not tolerate abuse. Harassment only leads to further stigmatization of the UAP field, significantly hindering the scientific progress and discouraging others to study this important subject matter. Your harassment also obstructs the public's right to knowledge.
My team and I have also been subject to lots of harassment, especially coming out of my last hearing, because people don't understand the scientific method and why we have to do the things we have to do, right? And because we can't just come out and say, you know, the greatest thing that could happen to me is I could come out and say, hey, I know where all these things are. Here you go. All right, but I don't. Right, and it's going to take us time to research all of that. People want answers now, and so they're actually feeding the stigma by exhibiting that kind of behavior to all of us. Right, that is a bad thing. Where can NASA help? I made that recommendation on NASA should lead the scientific discourse. We need to elevate this conversation. We need to have this conversation in an
What did you guys think? I guess any general thoughts on the harassment in the community? And again, the reason why this is important is not only is it just bad, but it ties to some of these leaders, particularly Lue Elizondo, and particularly the SCIF meeting we're going to be covering. But do you guys remember when this happened? And like, yeah, anyone have any thoughts?
Well, there's a lot of stuff going on here, right? You got like the Kirkpatrick stuff, you got the NASA stuff, and then you got the David Grush stuff all going on. I didn't really, I didn't get it when it was happening. I really didn't. Looking back on it, it looks crazy.
Yeah, and this is kind of a little teaser for a future episode. I'm bouncing around about how I'm going to format it, but this little harassment right here was before the debrief article even came out. So like, and again, all these people, all these little harassers, and this goes back years. They have ties to like some of the leaders of this movement, and it's very disappointing. And as we're going to cover throughout the show, it's this little beat that they've really been trying to keep under the rug for like years is just percolating now, and especially after this, a lot of people are activated, I'd say. Yeah, Manny, what are your thoughts? Just the NASA hearing and I guess the harassment in general in the community.
You know, to me, this was kind of. I'm glad that they addressed it. I'm glad that they called it out and shone a light onto it. You know, because this is something that within our community here online, people had been seeing for several years, and then when they targeted these people, you know, with this passion and this hate and this harassment and the doxing and things like that, you know. Something that Kirkpatrick said was that, like, when he was working in intelligence, that the people from Russia and China didn't come after him as hard as the UFO people do, you know, and that right there was kind of eye-opening. You know, like, he was a pretty high-level person in the intelligence community. I believe he probably would have been targeted by foreign intelligence services for things like phishing schemes and discreditation, things like that. But you know, for him to say that some of the people in the UFO community came after him, and I'm assuming some of these other people pretty hard, you know, more than the foreign intelligence services would. It was eye-opening, but I'm glad that they did it. I'm glad that they did it because we've been experiencing it, you know. And it, you know, I think one of them actually named, I think it was at NASA, they actually named Twitter in particular and said, yeah, UFO Twitter is the worst.
Oh yeah,
you know?
I got that next. Let's go there because we got some stuff to go.
NASA panelist Dr. Nadia Drake speaks on UFO Twitter harassment.
We'll fast forward to the point where we had the NASA live broadcast a couple of weeks ago as we record this now.
Hello, good morning, and welcome. My name is Dan Evans, and as the designated federal official for NASA's Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena Independent Study Team, I'd like to call this meeting to order and introduce the panelists. In the back row, we have Nadia Drake.
The first speaker will be Dr. Nadia Drake.
I'm Nadia. I am a scientist by training. I'm also a science journalist now, and my job is to try and synthesize the information that we've learned so far.
Disappointingly, though, but not.
Pause real quick. Her dad is Frank Drake, who made the Drake equation, right? So it's just it's crazy to me that this like weird harassment we're all dealing with is like affecting people like Frank Drake's daughter, or you know what I mean? So crazy. But yeah, let's continue. Also, what's interesting about this is totally one of like Lue Elizondo's little shows, and it's interesting because it's really funny when this NASA thing happened, right? People like me and Tupa and Manny, we've been really calling this stuff out, and a lot of the community is kind of like pushing it aside. And then after the NASA thing happened, everyone was like, "Oh, we need to talk about the harassment in the community." All of a sudden, it was like, "Wow, you're so fake." But in this stream, he tries to get her to say that it wasn't coming from the UFO community; it was actually coming from like academia, and she like shuts it down. I just find it funny that he tried to set her up like that because everyone knows what they were talking about. But
unsurprisingly, it opened with a mention of the abuse that had been aimed at the panel.
It's disheartening to note that several of them have been subjected to online abuse due to their decision to participate on this panel.
I really do want to double down on Dan's words that it is really disheartening to hear of the harassment that our panelists have faced online, all because they're studying this topic.
My team and I have also been subject to lots of harassment, especially coming out of my last hearing.
And I'd like to ask, though, where was the abuse coming from? Did it seem to come from the UFO community? Was it scientific community? Just your standard online troll?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think what I can say, and I don't want to violate anyone's privacy, is that there were criticisms coming from within the science community, really just questioning why people were spending their time on this. I had made that comment before. But I think what NASA was referring to in those statements were harassment and abuse coming from UFO Twitter in particular has been very loud and very angry with a couple of us, not just me.
It just makes me so sickened because so many, I feel like people that could be contributing to the subject just get turned off by this, right? It's so gross. What are your thoughts, Manny?
Yeah, and you can't go too far without seeing it, and that's the sad thing. And knowing what we know, it's not a large number of people. It's a very small minority in the community that do this stuff, but they're just extremely vocal. And some of them use tactics like sock puppets to amplify their voice and make it seem like they're larger than they are. Then again, they are also platformed by these minor social media celebrities like Jeremy Corbell, like Lue Elizondo. Like if the people like that weren't reposting their memes and giving them attaboys and likes and tapping them on the back, they wouldn't be anywhere near where they are. So that's that's part of it, and it does suck because while UFO Twitter started to be, when it was created to be like a TTSA kind of fan club, it really morphed into all things ufology on the internet. And if you look at other social media platforms like Reddit or Facebook or any other platform where they talk about UFO news and people meet to talk about it, all of their information is a day to 3 days behind UFO Twitter. And that leads me to believe that UFO Twitter really is the nexus. It's the hub of where people, maybe not the most people congregate, but the most influential people, most certainly, whether it's podcasters or people who are writing books, journalists, content creators, they all seem to congregate here first. And so that's really why I think it's important to call this stuff out, to get rid of the bad actors, and then to set a standard in this community where we're not going to accept that type of behavior anymore. There's no excuses, zero tolerance for it, zero excuses. People are trying to dox people and dig into their families and stuff. They can get the fuck out and stay the fuck out. And I just hope that that's the standard that's adopted, because it really does. It's turned a lot of people off, and we've lost a lot of good people already because of it. And it's going to keep the stigma around this subject alive in the public eye when people come here and this is the first thing they see.
And I think it's going to sink the whole ship, to be honest. And we're starting to see this. Go for it, Tupa.
It's not a cultural thing. It's a very specific group of people that are doing this, right? And then one of the strange things, too, is that this particular group and that camp is trying to present this issue as if it's the debunkers, right? Let's not forget that they're trying to say that it's the debunkers that are harassing these guys, and it's academia mocking them for looking into UFOs and taking it seriously. That's not what's happening. These guys were talking about their findings and saying that they didn't find any UFOs. That's why they were getting harassed from UFO Twitter specifically, because they weren't delivering on those things. And it's just such a bizarre thing. I think she explains it in this clip. And so it's okay, they're going to openly harass people. And I don't know, it's always presented as if they were getting harassed because they were looking into a fringe topic. No, they were getting harassed because they weren't backing up the claims of people like Lue Elizondo and his crazy little cult. That's why, and that's such a weird reason for them to get harassed. To get harassed to the degree that they have to include it in their presentations. Very weird.
3 different panelists, and it's not just memes guys, and as we're going to cover here, it's quite sophisticated. They're using AI tools. They're doing background checks on people. There's even, me and Tupa have noticed, there's weird kind of bots and weird kind of people coming into spaces kind of on a script. It'll be an account that's only been retweeting crypto stuff since 2015, 2012. And then all of a sudden it's taken over, and now it's tweeted UFO stuff for the last day. And the person comes in and is don't talk about this. It's not important. And they don't really know anything about what's going on. It's very strange. I personally think there's some kind of Scientology element to it, but they definitely are good at recruiting people, as we'll see. But just to kind of reinforce that this is an important issue, not only just because you don't want to be a horrible person and just allow this behavior to exist. Listen to what Matt Ford, official mouthpiece of Lue Elizondo here and the Disclosure Movement, listen to what he has to say about it.
When we have certain people on Twitter that kind of rage tweet towards certain senators, one particular male individual that tends to rage tweet towards Senator Gillibrand and others, I can tell you for a fact, Senate and House staffers read those tweets. They hear it. And in some cases, that stuff gets passed on to these senators. And here's the bottom line. Here's the takeaway for all of you at home watching this. We need to extend our gratitude to Senators Rounds, Schumer, and Gillibrand for reintroducing the UAP Disclosure Act as an amendment to the NDAA. It is essential for the rest of the Senate, particularly the committees with jurisdiction over the portions of this legislation, to agree unanimously to include this amendment in the substitute bill, Twitter attacking her. We can't, full stop, not want any of us to do, period, the end, is to attack Senators Schumer, Rounds, or Gillibrand. Full stop. So if Senator Gillibrand posts something that maybe is a little bit guarded or something like that, we can't have people on Twitter attacking her. We can't have people on Twitter or elsewhere attacking Senators Schumer, Rounds, or Gillibrand. Period, the end. They have done their job. They have said what they're going to do, and they have reintroduced this legislation. And it is all of our jobs. It is incumbent upon all of us to support them, to share our support, and to not criticize them. They have done what they said they would do last year.
This is like such blatant propaganda. It's so pathetic, dude. We need to praise these guys. Don't, like, how we should be behaving, these dear leaders. Like, this is so weird, dude.
Well, especially when he's kind of riling a lot of these people up, right? He is interacting with all of these worst harassers.
Dude, that's actually a really crazy point, is that Matt Ford himself riles these guys up against these people. He's the one who directs this group of people who to attack. He directs it, dude. Crazy.
Yeah, I think he was guilty of doing some of that himself too, where he was making posts calling people traitors and saying that they should be, maybe executed or be charged for treason, things like that. Like it was just, the rhetoric was so strong coming out of him, and then his attitude changed. It was almost overnight, and it seemed like he got a talking to. Like there was someone that he, someone was like, "Hey, you need to cool it. You can't be doing that." Now this is the new kind of nice guy Ford. You're right. He does rile those people up. He supports all the common named, people who are known to dox and harass and things like that. Says that he loves them.
Yeah, and the person we're gonna see uplifting tweets later does all the graphics for this show. But let's finish this clip out because again, you guys, they've tried really hard to make this in the UFO community seem like it's not an issue. But NASA scientists are saying it. DoD scientists are saying it. Matt Ford here himself, a person who's rallied up a lot of this stuff, is telling you that senators see this craziness.
They got defeated. And we should all be incredibly grateful that they have spent this kind of their own political capital to get this back on the books. This is a thankless job for these members of Congress. It's a great political risk to them. They know that they've got the Pentagon, the intelligence community, and the military-industrial complex breathing down their necks. We owe Schumer, Rounds, and Gillibrand an incredible debt of gratitude. So for those of you that are watching, especially all of you that like to rage tweet and put nasty replies onto these senators and congressmen and women's Twitter account, don't do it. You're not helping. You're not helping us at all. They have done their job, and we must show support. Now,
oh man. And then just to reinforce how serious this all is, guys, is now Lue himself, right, after years of running from this, right, even the whole Faceless Bureaucrat question where he called Rather's mom a hooker kind of all ties into this general concept of Lue Elizondo being fully aware of and enabling and rallying a lot of this harassment. To where now on the book tour, Vinny Adams, by the way, did you guys, Vinny Adams was the one to do it, right? Because before the book tour, I was like, I wonder if anyone's going to even ask him about it. Did you guys think anyone would? And were you surprised it was Vinny? As we're going to watch her, who asked him about, actually, let's wait till the end. Let's wait till the end of the clip and then we'll do that. Because Vinny gets kind of down to brass tacks here. Let's see.
He and his family were apparently subject to a lot of intimidation and retribution and threats, which is completely unacceptable. Let me make this perfectly clear. At no time is it ever acceptable to threaten somebody. I don't care what side of the conversation you're on. I don't care what you believe in. I don't care how much you think the other side is damaging disclosure or the opposite. There is no time that is ever ever, in my opinion, is it appropriate to threaten someone or their family, or to expose them, or dox them, or interfere with their privacy and their right to safety and security. That's unacceptable. Anybody who does that is not on team disclosure. We don't want you. So I just want to make that clear as well, because he was attacked and his family was threatened. And if that's the case, then that's terrible, because I personally know what that feels like, and I would never wish that on anybody.
Well, let me expand upon that a little bit, because, we see a lot of that kind of negativity in the UFO community. We have people on both sides, people who claim to be supporters of you, who, say pretty bad things, and, they are attacking people and, doxing in some occasions, in your name, and the same comes from the other side, and I don't normally go into this kind of thing, but how does that make you feel?
Let's pause there just on the question itself, and like something for the audience to recognize too is like, this is one of Lue Elizondo's like avowed shows, right? So for Vinny to ask it, I don't know, I kind of think maybe it was planned, but it should let you guys know that, like, even Vinny's saying, like, it's your fans, not only your fans, it's your fans doing it in your name, right? It's like, it's to a point where like no one can deny it or ignore it. You know what I mean? Even the biggest like Lue supporters like Vinny. Any thoughts on this part before you hear Lue's response?
It seems like that Lue needed to address it and had Vinny be the guy to do it, and frankly, that's good for them. But weird that like the sequence of events that happened after this kind of proves that this was all bullshit. Sorry for my language.
Yeah, that's kind of a MO that Lue's used before, is to go find a friendly talk show to put on this dog and pony show of organically addressing issues, and that way he can say, oh, I've gone and I've addressed this stuff. He did it on Fessler's show right after Who's Lue came out. He went on there and answered a couple questions amongst other things that were raised in the film, while ignoring all the hard ones. So that's kind of his thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was scripted, if they knew that not scripted, but if this was prearranged that they were going to address this. And as far as there's one thing I do want to comment on about what Vinny said there, where he said that both sides do this, and I'm just going to have to call bullshit on that.
Yeah, that is cope. That's cope. That's what they all have to do so they don't feel bad about it. It's like both sides. It's like, no, there's really only one side. And especially when we go through like the stuff that Whistleblower UAP Mike let us know, that like Uplifting and KMF were doing behind the scenes, like there's only one side doing all that stuff for like random everyday people, numbering in the hundreds going back years. You know what I mean? But still, I will give him credit for asking it. But yeah, the both sides thing is kind of I don't know.
It's a way to minimize their own bad behavior on their side, is what it is. They're like saying, oh, look, we're only doing what they're doing too, but it's not the case at all.
It's just part of their gaslighting. They basically they went first like full on denial. Now they're going with a measured response and a limited admission, and eventually they'll have to face all of these direct things, like, because they just did it all publicly. So it's kind of embarrassing for them to keep like trying to pretend that they're standing against it. It's very strange. It's like, why would Lue on his like Twitter account, on his pinned tweet, put all these pledges on there that he had no intentions of actually doing? In fact, his activity is in many ways the exact opposite, proving that he's lying. I will always be honest. I do not tolerate bullying. Very weird.
And Tupa had a great point too, which we're going to kind of get to, because this was just a few weeks ago. And again, I think it's worth noting that like he's been running from this question for probably at least 3 years. I know Zach Zishy actually kind of wanted to ask him, I think in like 2020. And a lot of people probably don't even know who that is. I'm telling you, this whole UFO media landscape is so influenced by this mechanism, and it would look so different if it didn't exist. And so many people have been ran out or elevated if they go along with it by this mechanism. It's crazy, but he's been running from this question for a while. So the fact that he's even asking it, I think should let you guys know, and he's addressing it, like how serious this is. And I think when we get to the end too, when we get to his whole, like, if ufology dies, it should let you guys all know how serious this is. NASA's noticing it. Senators are noticing it. Let's hear Lue's response.
I appreciate vigor and I appreciate people defending me. What I don't want people to do is attacking somebody else on my behalf. That is not acceptable. And I don't agree with that. If you want to defend somebody based upon facts and data, I support that. And that's on both sides, not just me. Even like I said, with Sean Kirkpatrick or anybody else who I may not necessarily agree with, I agree with having good, productive conversations, but as long as we have decorum, right, within the field. Part of the problem with the UAP community, they're very passionate, and it's not a problem in itself. That's a virtue. The problem becomes when that passion gets translated into either violence or the threat of violence, or a complete loss of decorum. This only works, this conversation, because we can all talk together and we can also agree to disagree. The problem is that there's a lot of people that love drama and they seek it out and they purposely want to stir it up, whether it's with a certain podcaster or a certain, not so reputable outlet that they know loves just BS and drama and will literally make stuff up just because they want to see the result of the drama go, work its way downstream. That's not helpful. And part of the problem is too, some of it's very sophisticated. Look, I'll give you an example. Wikipedia, which is the #1 search engine on Google, has been hijacked. Look, it's
this guy. So see, look, he's even kind of like not really addressing it, right? He's like dancing around the fact that he's totally aware, he's totally directing it. I honestly don't even want to play and let him give his Wikipedia spiel, right?
Well, the fact that he tried to pivot directly into Wikipedia, doesn't that outline exactly what their strategy was building up to this with people like Matt Ford? Like calling the alarm on the Wikipedia guerrillas.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then I'm not even going to play the rest of the clip because like he just goes into his Wikipedia thing. But when this happened, right, people in the community were like, okay, maybe Lue's kind of coming around now. Maybe Lue's, sure. I think some people were just kind of coping, like hoping that like, okay, maybe Lue's done with all this stuff. But then now we get to the SCIF. So then like a week or two after he does this whole like no friend of mine, I disavow all harassers, he goes to Busch Gardens. Oh, and I got the trailers.
Opening up for you, waiting for your laughter with so much new to do. Busch Gardens, Busch Gardens, come to Busch Gardens and come to life. Come to Busch Gardens and come to life.
So
beautiful.
Here he is at Busch Gardens, Lue Elizondo with Fettuccine Split, who is one of the worst harassers, which we will shortly go through some of the harassment kind of crazy stuff he's done, and then we're going to go into some of the community reactions. And he kind of activated a lot of people. I guess before we kind of go through like what Fettuccine's done, what did you guys think of just Lue posting this pic, especially so shortly after his like statement that he disavows all the harassers?
Dude, I think you got to show what this guy does.
All right, let's show it first. Yeah, let's show it first so the audience knows. Let's show it first. You're right.
And how many days after Lue said that? What's the time frame between his Vinnie Adams interview and then this?
Less than 2 weeks, I think.
Less than 2 weeks.
Less than 2 weeks. All right, so let's see what we got here.
Busch Gardens.
Oh, okay, so I wanted to show this to show that like these people know each other. This is UAP Mike, who, mind you, Mike was part of this group. He saw the horrible behavior, some of which we'll cover. And he left the group and kind of went whistleblower on a lot of the things going on behind the scenes there. But this is like 2 or 3 months ago. He said that Uplifting and Elizondo go to Busch Gardens together. And then so they ended up actually going. So let's just hear Mike say.
Gardens joke is a joke because he met Uplifting Tweets at Busch Gardens.
Oh, he did? Interesting. That's fun. Of course he did. But they're not connected.
Maybe on some rides. That's where they do. That's where they do all their planning on the rides.
Wait, Busch Gardens is an amusement park?
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's Six Flags something.
Uplifting Tweets and fucking Elizondo spent the day at like a roller coaster park.
Yeah, they met up there.
I was shocked.
I think a few times they met up there, more than once. Like Elizondo.
More than once?
Yeah, Elizondo goes there every year, and I guess it's right near wherever Uplifting is. And Uplifting's like, yeah, he's like, don't tell anybody, but I'm going to go meet Elizondo at this, I think it's Busch Gardens.
It's funny that Mike said this months ago, right? And he said they've been going for years. And then Elizondo actually posted a picture with Uplifting Tweets from Busch Gardens. So, right, it might have seemed far-fetched. But, something else that's really interesting about this is I didn't pull it, but Uplifting Tweets his picture of it. He tried to make it seem like it was his first time ever meeting Elizondo at Busch Gardens, right? And it's like, first of all, I don't have anyone like who I go to an amusement park annually with, like another family. You know, that's like a very, I think, high level of, I don't know. I think we're gonna find out they're all Scientologists and have known each other forever. Is basically what I'm getting at. But I don't know. Any thoughts on this before we continue along? Anyone?
UAP Mike vindicated.
Right, vindicated, dude. This was months ago, and right, it kind of seemed far fetched at the time. Like, really, no, I don't know. Okay, well, we'll just continue along. Or Manny, you got anything? Or?
Yeah, I was just gonna say the same thing. It was good to have some confirmation of Mike's claims there. You know, that these folks have met before. You know, we know that Elizondo supported Uplifting Tweets in the past. He's mentioned some of the memes that he's made and been like, "Oh, I really like that one meme you made. I really like that one. That was great. Ha ha ha." You know, like, so he's been there, and they, you know, he's been encouraging him at least, you know, directly, and that's the stuff he said, you know, in public. I mean, imagine what he would say on his sock puppet accounts or through third parties. You know, like, I can only imagine. But yeah, let's move on.
Yeah, and here's Uplifting Tweets just to show you guys how long they've known each other. And I think there's a deeper relationship than they're even saying here. Here's Uplifting Tweets saying that Faceless Bureaucrat liked his memes, which is Lue Elizondo's infamous burner sock puppet account that he used to rally harassers with a few years ago. And he got asked about on UCR and then ended up calling Rather So I'm a Hooker. We've kind of covered this here before, but just to kind of show that like Elizondo has been aware of who this person is and meets with them regularly before we kind of get into the horrible behavior.
Faceless Bureaucrat likes Uplifting Tweets memes.
I remember back finding out about the Faceless Bureaucrat deal, and you know, everyone's all concerned. Not me. I was thinking, oh my god, he liked a couple of my memes. Holy shit.
So yeah, it might seem kind of inconsequential, and if you're out of the loop, you might be like, what the hell are they even talking about? Why does this even matter to ufology? But this has affected a lot of people, and as we'll see at the end, like Lue's kind of starting to say that this might be the reason disclosure fails. So
is there a chance that, like, I guess, were Lue and Uplifting pretending not to know each other publicly?
Yes, I think this recent picture, they were pretending like it was their first time meeting. Which is already, that should tell you something nefarious is happening, right?
Yes.
So here's just, and it's all pretty gross. And again, I'd much rather be talking about like a 1950s case, but this is happening. More people are talking about it. And honestly, no one's really been kind of documenting and archiving it. And I think able to present it as well as some of us. And we hope to do it in a way to clean up the community and whatnot. But it's just disappointing to see this. So it's not just memes. There's here's some more memes, right? Just kind of like Greer as a terrorist. Here's a comic book person. And it's kind of graphic. I don't know. I might have to edit this stuff out after. YouTube might take it down. But basically, Uplifting Tweets draws this guy who makes comic books, who made a comic book, I guess, that Lue Elizondo didn't like. And he said, Joe's origin story. And it's a person getting R-worded in an alley and then pooping out a little infant. So pretty vulgar. There we got Ashton Forbes with the MH370 plane in a very weird position. Here we got Greer as a terrorist. And again, like, these are gross, but these still aren't even like the craziest stuff, right? It's more than memes, which we will cover. But also, along with that, as we said, Uplifting Tweets does the graphics for not only the Good Trouble show, but also Weaponized. And he made these posters for Lue that say hero for this protest that they did in New York City for Senator Schumer. So like, he's very much like connected to all these people in a very weird way. I guess we'll just kind of continue along. And just, if anything sticks out to you, just let me know.
What do we say? I just want to hop in.
Okay. So this is a pretty interesting thing that Uplifting Tweets disclosure memes had said to us at one point in time. Just kind of showing that, like, him and Lue talk and they know what they're doing.
Real quick, because I'm cooking dinner for my family. I want to share that all this shit that you're hearing, everyone in here, everything you're hearing is bullshit. It's all just fabricated crap because they all hate Lue and they all hate King Milk Fart. I am what you would consider part of this hate group that they call it, and I can tell you it's all false. What's fabricated? We are all fucking pissants in relation to how big this topic is, and none of this shit fucking matters. What you're seeing is two pissed off motherfuckers because KMF owned them, Gary Nolan owned them, Lue Elizondo fucking owned them. So suck a dick. I'm gonna go celebrate this refollow.
Go have fun. Go have fun.
Hope you enjoy, bro.
That poor guy, man. You know, like I said this on Twitter. I really feel pity for Uplifting Tweets because he's excused some atrocious, deplorable behavior. And one of these days, he's going to have an epiphany and wake up and be like, oh my God, I did this pretty horrible shit to some people. And it was all because this guy lied to me because I believe this Elizondo character and he's a bullshitter.
Right.
Yeah. He's going to have a rude awakening.
Well, especially too, we're going to kind of cover it with the, I think I have some of the Brian Johnson stuff in here. Did I grab it? I thought I did. Oh yeah, I did. He's implicated like his some of his family members in some of this stuff, but we'll get to that in a bit. So I thought it was funny that he was like, there's no hate group, there's no this stuff, and then here in this next one we have, and again we're not even into the crazy stuff, but just kind of his statements right here. Thorough Whelan, community member, experiencer. I think he's done some interviews and stuff. He says, as someone who has been harassed by him, I would disagree that he's a good man with a good heart. In fact, he has a criminal record to boot. I think ultimately this field is filled with personalities and we each have different things to offer. But what the fuck do I know? I'm a nobody. I think this is in response to King Milkfart, one of Uplifting Tweets' friends and Elizondo's friends, who's the worst harasser. Fettuccine Split, Disclosure Meme says, I'm a nobody, LOL. As if you really believe that, you talk about yourself literally more than anyone I've ever encountered. As far as his harassment of you is concerned, in my opinion, it is 100% justified. We have all seen your comments in the UAPX Discord, shitting all over Lue Elizondo and anyone he is associated with. So, like, do you guys see it? Like, right there, he directly says, like, King Milkfart's harassment of you is okay because of what you said about Lue Elizondo in a private Discord. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's so bad, especially because juxtaposed to what we just listened to, where he's like, that's not true. There's nothing to this. All right, let's continue along. So Whistleblower UAP Mike. Mike was part of that group again, and he's been on the show. He was on our first episode here. I wanted to have him back, but I think he was busy or something like that. And he whistleblow on a lot of things. And let's just kind of go through some of it. So yeah, that they have these war rooms where they collect information on people, right? So Uplifting Tweets organizes them. And remind you, Lue Elizondo doesn't just say, look who I ran into. He says, thanks for all that you do, right? So in these rooms here, we have them finding information about Chupacabra, right? And Tupa, they did end up posting your phone number publicly, right? And you and your family and your mom, you guys, your whole family kind of gets calls all the time now, right?
Yes. Now everybody knows my real name. But these guys are dicks. They do this a lot. They posted this a lot from several different accounts. So they would plan it, that they would do it, then it would all happen all at once. From, again, multiple sock puppets from these guys normally. Then they would go through and like it. Then they would have their bots like it. Very strange behavior. But yeah, they literally, look, we have evidence that they planned war rooms against me. That's organized harassment. That's illegal.
Also talk about what happened to, I have the grandma thing up here, but talk about what happened to your brother and your mom and just kind of like how deranged it really gets.
Oh, well, they still post things like my children's moms, like all kinds of stuff. I mean, King Milkfart just did that today. But these guys posted, photos of my grandmother's house, her name. They plastered it on. They made a website about it, plastered it all over there. They kept sharing my phone number, my full name. They went through my family's Facebook accounts. They found everyone. They started. My family began to receive strange phone calls. My brother was getting photos of his house texted to him. So many random calls from not even like marketers, but just weird shit. Like it felt like all of our information was suddenly on some kind of database where people could just would fish. And it was very, very strange. I would get calls every time I was in a space from out of state numbers. Every time I was in a space, it was constant. My mom got her Facebook hacked. Someone hacked it. They told everyone in the family that she had died. Very, very wild stuff. Photos of.
This isn't just memes, guys. They're finding information about people in the community and their families to intimidate them and threaten them to get them to be silent. Going so far as to send pictures of Chupacabra's brother's home to Chupacabra's, totally separate of Tupa. Going so as far as to hack Chupacabra's mom's Facebook and post that she had died. So he had to get all day. His family was getting calls like, "Is your mom okay? She died. Like, what's going on?" Like this is demented Scientology level.
Yeah.
Stuff.
It's like gang stalking, and they want you to feel oppressed when they do it. Like, I think that they've driven people kind of a little crazy. I know of like a couple examples of people who are like trying to deal with this, and You know, they have like nervous breakdowns and stuff. It seems like that's what this group is going for. And then they gaslight all the people that we don't. No, Lue doesn't know us. Lue doesn't talk to us. He doesn't even know we exist. You know. And then you find out that they're going to Busch Gardens together. The gaslighting is incredible.
Right, especially after he just especially after he just like says like he's against all this stuff, right? So let's just kind of continue along. It's this was fun. They go into YouTube live streams where their shows, and they'll purchase bots and create fake accounts that look like other content creators and other streamers just to kind of push narratives. Which, like, again, this stuff costs money. It's kind of weird to do. It's kind of like I don't do that. I don't ever have the inclination to do that. But these people do it like all the time to a bunch of people. It's very, very strange. Let's continue along. What else we got here? Oh, here they are trying to identify Cosmic Judas, trying to dox him. Just a meme maker, right, in the community, you know? It makes pretty funny memes. But just to kind of go show, like, these people are like always trying to find information about people, even if they don't need it, just in the off chance they will need it. You know, it's kind of crazy. Oh, this is pretty wild. So there's this person in the community who was a terminally ill cancer patient, and they Tuba, do you want to maybe break this down? I feel like you're kind of good at breaking this one down. Or not.
Brian Johnson?
Yeah.
This story?
Yeah, what's the TLDR there?
Brian Johnson was a Spaces host on Twitter. He would do a lot of Spaces. He had his particular style. He would monologue a lot. And he was always supportive of the mainstream disclosure narrative. And at some point he began to say stuff like, I've been like, someone reached out to me, you wouldn't believe it, but I got information. Like, that was weird. You know, it's always a precursor to something weird. And then eventually Brian Johnson got a little drunk in a space, and this is what he told me. He criticized Lue Elizondo and Jeremy Corbell while he was monologuing, right? And his spaces got some really good traction. A lot of people liked going and listening to him. He's a very well-spoken guy. And after he criticized these people, Corbell and Elizondo, something was brought to his attention, that there was an account claiming to be Brian Johnson, masquerading as Brian Johnson, but also in a disparaging way, you know, like making fun of him. A troll account for him. But strangely, like, you know, it kind of looked like just like it. Like Brian Johnson's account, you can see how it has it's Brian, Joe, and then a bunch of numbers. So someone just created that. So he noticed it, and he was like, because it was replying to things, this sock puppet account, and he noticed it. He basically was like, yo, who the hell is doing this? Like, I'll find you. And so Brian went 0 to 100 on this, and he was really upset. And the hate group loved it because, of course, they were behind it. And so Brian starts to report on it. He's like, listen, like, you know, like, look at this one. Like, there's always been accusations of a hate club on this platform, and the suspicions were that Elizondo was directing King Milkfart because he kept following him every time KMF got booted and came back. If you have a problem with me, Lue, let's talk it out. So, like, Brian Johnson wants to smoke, right? So he keeps on tagging this, and now everyone's starting to know, because Brian he blocked me at this point. He was not Team Tupa or Team Red on this, right? He was definitely, you know, this is all drama, yada, yada. Well, now he's starting to acknowledge something's going on. So he keeps on tagging these guys, and people keep feeding him information. Again, I'm blocked. I'm not telling him nothing. But people keep feeding him information, and he's finding out more and more solid details that indeed this group is behind it. So he keeps labeling them, naming them, and eventually Uplifting Tweets, Fettuccine Split, Elizondo's Busch Gardens buddy, he pipes up and goes, okay, it was me, I admit it, I did it, right? Like, I created the account and I bought the bots because there was this weird artificial boost in followers that this sock puppet account got. Thousands, right? And he shows the receipt. He goes, I bought the bots and I did this thing. So now this guy, who is Lue saying thanks for all you do, is admitting to doing this. And
remember, Brian Johnson said it was only once he started criticizing Lue and Jeremy Corbell that this started happening, right?
Yes. And Brian told me, he goes, dude, the strange thing is that this account is like months old. So it was made and it was lying dormant. until Brian Johnson spoke out against Lue Elizondo. Then Uplifting jumped into action. And you can see that's when Uplifting jumps into action, right? As soon as someone criticizes Lue. And he says that over and over and over again.
Yeah, he said that to Thorough Whelan, right? We saw what you were saying about Lue Elizondo in Discord. Like,
exactly.
Is deserved.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, let's continue along. So after Uplifting gets kicked off Twitter, right? He gets allowed back on, and everyone was kind of surprised, like, how the hell did this happen? He just kind of admitted to buying bot followers to harass someone. And we later learned that it was actually, he has a relative apparently at Twitter that's super high up. And we even know people who know people at Twitter who like tried to like see like what the hell's going on. And their Twitter contact was like, I don't know what's happening here, but this is above my pay grade. And like, this is very strange, but I don't know what it is. So I don't know, bro. I think this is some kind of Scientology Operation Snow White thing where they have radical believers or people that have radical believers with family members that have access to things that they're just kind of always tapping on. And we'll kind of cover it more here.
Again,
but yeah, so after he gets allowed back, you know, just to kind of show you guys that like these people are all propped up. So like all those memes we saw earlier of like people being drawn as anuses and whatnot, like I don't know why these people.
This dude, you know, Fettuccine Split, or AKA Uplifting Tweets, and this guy just had some hilarious memes. So I was thinking maybe Michael, can you show us some of these memes? Okay, so there we go. So remember that UFO debunkers beware, the one where it's me, you, Joe Rogan, a bunch of people in Predator, the movie.
That's right.
All saying UFO debunkers beware. It was so funny. We had some from movies. Do you
Pulp Fiction? Yeah, Pulp Fiction. That's a good one.
So look at that one. Hold on, pause for a second. So that, tell me about that.
Corso. Colonel Phil Courtney back in. That's a good one. MIB.
Men in Black. I like this one.
Mad Max.
Fravor. Look at Fravor. Looking at the Tic Tac. That's a really nice. 2001 Space Odyssey.
With Rogan. Yeah.
With Rogan. And then I love this.
So he does do these, right? And this is why Lue does. And I should have done like a little collage of all these, but he does do like for these people who like do like what's like sycophant type posts or whatever. Like you know what I mean?
Yes.
So he'll build these people up, but also at the same time, like we're trying to find information about other people. Let's just play
this one. This is like Karate Kid, right? Like you're the sensei, Mr. Miyagi, and you're teaching me how to like hold the orb because it's the year of the spear. That was pretty good. This is like me having a panic attack because every time I go on the news, I'm like, aren't you hearing what we're saying? Like,
this is so corny.
So great. So those are some good memes throughout this year. I really do think that memes will change the world one day. And I'm glad that people engaged and made some fun. Look, this should be fun. You've always said to me, if this isn't fun, what are we doing? This should be fun. And I think online it contributes to that fun to have people create, you know, even derogatory memes. I think
even derogatory memes, right?
Yeah, that's great. Let's show that meme where, well, don't show it again. You showed it earlier, the one that he made about Cartoon Joe, you know, and if people really look at that, that epitomizes everything that Uplifting Tweets does. It's terrible. It's beyond all sort of social norms, and it shouldn't be accepted by anybody, and yet it is. And
I would never think to make a meme of like someone's mom getting raped. You know what I mean? And these people just kind of normalize it, and it's very weird. And it should tell you something about like, there's something funky with this whole disclosure movement, bro. These people are like demented. They have demented senses of humor. They do really weird data collection and like doxing and harassment stuff. So look at, this group, once Tupa Cabra started speaking about Lue Elizondo and kind of some of the tactics of this group, they posted his grandma's address online, and then to mock it, Uplifting Tweets sold a picture of the shirt, right? And here he apologizes for using somebody else's family members in their memes and stuff like that. But it's just very strange behavior. And again, like, it's just very strange that Lue Elizondo ties his name to this kind of stuff for years, right? Because everyone knows what this group does and how they operate and stuff. What did you think about this, Tupa? And you're sniffing there or something.
Oh, sorry. I was just about to blow my nose. I was getting kind of sinusy. So, you know, I went and got my grandma some extra bullets for her gun when this happened, because this was a little bit too far. And then people were posting stuff like, yo, I know that house. I know that house. And there were people who were literally like, you know, I looked at their location. They said that they were like in the Pacific Northwest. So it was very concerning. It was alarming. and they put this weird like iron cross on my grandma. Like it's kind of like boomer humor. You know what I mean? Like, and I can see them doing this specifically to try to make Elizondo proud, because it doesn't seem like humor from someone like within our age group. You know what I mean? Look how like he just wants to make him proud. He's just so happy to be there with them. It's like a little kid smile. Do you know what I'm saying? Like kind of sad eyes, but like little kid smiles. Like, dude, I'm just hanging out with my God. I'm hanging out with my dad, dude. Like this Lue guy. Lue's true. Anyone who makes fun of him, I'm gonna go fight him online. I'm gonna dox their grandma. Very strange behavior.
Very strange. And also, real quick, I forgot to shout this out. John Doe with the super chat, $10. Thank you, sir. Do you guys watch UAP Gerb? His work is fantastic. Yeah, I actually do like that guy's stuff. I would love to have him on here at some point. I feel like I think he's kind of similar to me, where he kind of does the like narration video essays about this topic, which is cool. I do like that. I love that stuff actually. And I actually don't like covering this stuff, believe it or not. But to the people calling it dumb drama or whatnot, like, I'm telling you, and I don't think I'm an idiot, and I've studied a lot of this stuff. I really think this is going to be the downfall of everything, because the whole OSAP ATIP stuff isn't really sexy, you know what I mean? But the tortures are being implicated in the harassment of like hundreds of citizens and stuff like that. It's I think that could kind of cut through to the non-UFO normie more. And if Lue Elizondo is our person that we're putting up here, and his claims are all crumbling, Jay Stratton, Jim Zlikatsky, Eric Davis, all of his own colleagues are saying this man is a liar and a con man. And not only that, he's had this crazy network of harassers for like 5-6 years. One of which he was loosely connected to ended up murdering his father, which we will be covering on this show. It's very, very serious. And like I said, NASA sees it. Senators see it. The people writing the legislation see it. Do you think the people writing legislation that see all this stuff and see Lue's interactions with it are like motivated to continue like working with him? I don't know. I think not, but let's continue. Oh yeah, so here they are, another show host, rather be squidding. They make all these fake accounts for people, and then they ended up doxing him and falsely accusing him of being a pedophile, and he ended up kind of leaving the community. And this was you just see this. There's a lot of times where anybody who questions Lue, they just get this like army of Lue's little internet trolls, just like trying to find information about their family, sending weird stuff to their family, accusing them of rape, like very deranged, sick, and demented stuff. And Lue says he thanks Uplifting Tweets for all he does. Let's see. What else do we got here? Oh, yeah. Look at using AI tools to find information about me there. Like, I've never used facial recognition AI tools to find information about people. Like, this is so weird to me. I don't know. Any thoughts on this, Tupa or Manny?
Yeah, it's crazy. They can say what they want, and they keep on creating reasons to try to justify this insane stalking behavior, but it's all to protect Lue's reputation. It's all to protect Lue. Like, why else would you be trying to use all these different tools to slander, harass, defame people? Like, it's so fucking weird. Like, this is this guy's legacy. This is so much effort.
Yeah, it's really gross, really disgusting. Let's just continue along. Here they are laughing at spreading fake pedo accusations about Chupacabra here. And they're even laughing about the fact that he sounds like he's going to cry when he's talking about it. So they've sexually harassed a minor for over a year. And again, guys, there are not only are we talking about it, there are multiple legal cases with some of these harassers that I think are going to tie back to Elizondo. And a lot of you people who are calling it drama are going to feel really stupid when like some pretty big Scientology like expose happens. And I think Lue's it's not going to look good for Lue. He's tied to a lot of really gross behavior. And again, this is, I said it before I got into UFOs, I was into like, and I still am into it. And I was going to do a Cold War history channel. I'm all into that, into counterintelligence, into how does the CIA use like information warfare to flip Guatemala without like invading it, you know, like stuff like that. And this is counterintelligence narrative control of the UFO subject, because the UFO subject is completely different than what it would be if this little man here, Lue Elizondo, with his counterintelligence skills, wasn't trying to pull some modern day online Alpha 66 with all these neckbeard Redditors doing all this gross behavior.
Fucking 100%, dude. 100%. This is like homegrown Alpha 66. I'm going to create my own little group of guerrillas, and we're going to go out there and we're going to do all these ops. And it's not Alpha 66 anymore. Now it's the Taliban. It got out of hand. But that's exactly what they're doing, and it's corny. You know what I mean? It's corny, but yeah, they did a number on me, right? You know what I mean? Like, look at this stuff. I got reports from people for 2 years now saying, "Hey, Tupa, like this stuff is organized. I have proof that this is like that they're like this is weird. It's too strange." People were hitting me up all the time asking me like, "What do you do? Like, why are they after you like this?" Because they acknowledged that it was happening, but they couldn't figure out why it was happening. And the excuses that these guys gave, it wasn't adding up. So people started to check into it. They're like, no, this is strange. And people still don't know. They still don't know. There are multiple groups out there who consider me like public enemy number one. I don't have a cult. I'm not a debunker. I draw things as aliens.
Yeah, it's affected a lot of normal people, and because people are intimidated to speaking out against it is the only reason why it's gone so far. And I'm not going to be intimidated. All right, let's continue. And I did send the link to UAP Mike, who I think might be hopping in here. We'll see. That'd be great to have because, you know, a lot of this information came from him. Yeah, see, we just covered that, Mike. Mike, if you're here, check your Discord, bro. I sent you the link. Would love to have you hop in here. We still got a few more things to do, but it'd still be great to even have your and John Doe giving me the Discord links. Okay, I actually don't have a Discord yet, but what else we got?
That would.
Okay, so not only are they trying to falsely accuse people of being pedophiles, they're actively calling CPS on like multiple people to try and get their kids taken away. Like I'm telling you guys, this isn't just memes, right? This is crossing boundaries, and like I said, a lot of people have left this field, and the entire ecosystem is just different than it would be. But let's hear this.
A lot of sense. I mean, I've told Ocean I don't agree with whatever the fuck happened. I told her to her face. But it's not my fucking business. And he was like, let me call. I'm sure they all, like Darren called the fucking Canadian CPS on that chick. Do you think that was, I had nothing to do with that shit. That's all Darren. And he's like, fucking, I'm going to rip this kid away from their mom. And you're like, wow.
Dude, only people without crazy, dude.
Can you believe that shit? Oh, they're always about taking people away from their kids. King Milk
Yeah,
Cart?
it's only people without kids that do that. It's fucked up. That's like such an unnecessary level to take things.
Yo, ask King Milk Fart about calling CPS on Tupa.
Yeah, because I'm just trying to follow along here, Mike. Was it Darren or was it KMF? Because I thought you said it was KMF yesterday.
All right, I will help you out, my friend. It's both. Ding, ding, ding. So Darren helped facilitate I guess whatever happened to what's her name? Ocean. Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go get the Canadian Child Protective Services. I think it was his ex-wife or something. So yeah, that was all his call. And then there was Tupa, and that was KMF after he thought that Red and Tupa had called his work,
which we didn't.
Which I had thought they had called my work too, and I was pretty pissed, and I was like ready to make calls too, but not to CPS. Like I was gonna call somebody's mom and be like, "Stop calling my work," and then fucking fucking KMF was like, "No, let's call Child Protective Services." I'm like, "Wait, what?" No, dude, like, let's not get people's kids taken away. That seems bad.
Again, so yeah, this is like just so next level. Really gross, really disgusting. Let me see what I got next here. Oh, this is kind of an interesting tweet, but nothing really like too salacious, but it just shows they have a process for bringing people on. So they recruit people. Oh, and look, we got Mike here. Welcome, Mike. How's it going? Glad you can make it. We're just kind of talking about uplifting tweets, and it's kind of a bummer stream. It's not like a happy, fun one, but I think this is something that needs to be talked about in the community. And what are your thoughts? What are you thinking here?
I think this was inevitable. I think the fact that he would post this picture being at this theme park with him and then pretending it's the first time, and like all of this is all so weird, man. And him having to come out and like he needs to face the music and this whole, Michele Stratton thing, all of it's just, he looks so bad right now. Very bad.
So crazy that it's all happening like on so many different fronts during his book rollout when he's like never been bigger than ever. And yeah, like we're gonna cover the Michele Stratton thing because I think it kind of ties into this too, because I didn't see that until today. So I think that, like as I said, this picture activated a lot of people because a lot of the really gross behavior. So as we saw, a lot of the stuff we just kind of witnessed was from Whistleblower UAP Mike here. Thank you, Mike, for seeing that like that crowd is not good people. And when did you realize like you were like, what were some of the things that when you were like, okay, I'm done with this, like this is too much, these people aren't what I thought it was?
Well, so there was a lot of stolen valor accusations that were going around. So I I'm pretty connected to like the disabled veteran community, like in my professional life, and I like accusing people of stolen valor who clearly were in the military. That was pretty gross. The calling, like the whole thing with Tupa, where they were going to call CPS and like try to get his kids taken away and like file a false report, and KMF said he was going to like say that Tupa was doing something like extremely gross to a child. So it was very bad. It was really, really bad. And I was like, this has got to, I was like, and then I told them, like, you can't say this stuff about Tupa. And they were all adamant that they could. And I was like, this is insane.
Right.
That's just so when I started documenting some of it. I'm like, yo, this is criminal. Like, this is real bad.
Why were they so obsessed with this stuff? Why did they want to take me out so bad? Why were they willing to go so far? Was it just with me?
Gaslighting it. People were gaslighting it for sure, and
also they've done this to a lot of people, like for years before.
Absolutely,
yeah.
I mean,
it's the same people. It is. It's the same people.
I think it's just to me, Tupa, in my research, it's because you backed up John Greenwald during that one thing, and you backed up Project Unity. So like, one, they don't like people questioning Lue. And then two, they don't like people like defending the people they're attacking, right? And that's kind of how you get these like, that's how it spirals into now all these people they're going after. They just kind of messed up with us kind of documenting it. Now I'm going to show, so Mike showed a bunch of stuff that he like whistleblew on. I'm going to show some of the reprisals that kind of happened to Mike that are pretty gross, which I mean, yeah, I think people just need to see it, right? Like it's just really gross. So in response to that, this group began posting picture of UAP Mike here where they live, right? And even also with the address. So pretty gross. This is pretty heavy. So UAP Mike and his wife are not able to have kids, and this group kind of like exploited that and just posted a bunch of pictures of UAP Mike's wife with like dead babies and her address for whistleblowing on this like wrong behavior. Right, this is like
the record, just like the whole having it's like my wife, she has like brain aneurysms and stuff, and like they're they're like obviously they're just like making fun of the fact that she's disabled and she can't go through like these really traumatizing experiences, and like here they are traumatizing her over it. It's ridiculous.
And you said they tried to get her disability taken away, right? Too, right?
They said they were targeting. KMF said let's try to get her disability turned off or something. And I'm not saying she does or doesn't have it, but I'm just saying like that's what they were saying. And when we talked to the police, they said, well, that's like a federal offense to like try to target someone's like federal benefits. Like you can't go around claiming you're going to do that.
And what do you think? I personally think that, because Mike here and a few other people, there's a few other kind of legal cases that are percolating up. I think that's why Lue Elizondo is addressing this. And I think that's also why he's meeting with Uplifting Tweets in person to kind of like hash out like a bunker game plan of like, this is all happening. Like we have to address it. I can't have this in writing with you, but we need to meet at Busch Gardens and talk about this. Because yeah, like he kind of ignored it until kind of the stuff about your case. And for the audience here, Mike and his wife Joyce, they have like their current criminal investigations being conducted on all this stuff that I personally think are going to tie back to Lue. I know Mike doesn't necessarily think that, but I think after this picture, right, I think Mike, I think you're kind of holding out hope that maybe Lue didn't know about some of this stuff, but like with this picture with Uplifting Tweets, I don't know, have you changed the tune? Well, let's see real quick. I got one more example of just this, like look at this. Is so gross and sick and demented. I don't even want to stand it too long, but just so you guys know, Mike, and then Mike, so yeah, what did you think when you saw this pic and like in terms of Elizondo's relationship to all this harassment? And then we're going to hear some community reactions to all this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, not surprised at the picture because I had known they've been going to Busch Gardens, but the idea that it was some sort of first time it happened, and I don't know, it was I was not that surprised, but also surprised at the same time.
Yeah, it's do you agree like, okay, here's the thing. Do you think they discussed like milk fart and some of these like legal proceedings that are kind of starting to percolate? Do you think they discussed LM, and like, yeah, I don't know.
I think they're discussing, so here's what I do know about how Uplifting Tweets talks to Jeremy Corbell. Jeremy Corbell sends him a lot of video messages. So I don't think there's a lot of text messages. So I wonder if that's like the preferred form of communication between these guys is like video messages. And I don't know why that might be. I'm not sure, but I know that's what Uplifting Tweets told me about how he communicates with Jeremy Corbell. He actually sent me a screenshot of his text with Jeremy Corbell where I can see like Jeremy Corbell's basement was flooded or something.
Oh, prayers for the basement. But yeah, it's just disappointing, right, guys? I feel like, and I think for sure me and Tupa, I think Manny might have been skeptical from the beginning, but I think UAP Mike too, like, I really like champion for this guy, Lue Elizondo. And just to see what he's done to this community, like so many people have been affected by this mechanism that we just kind of got a brief little glimpse of, is just very disappointing. And I really think from like a selfish perspective, it's going to really kill the whole disclosure movement. I really think it's gonna do that. But here, let's watch this. So this was a lot of the community reactions to the Busch Gardens SCIF, just so you guys could see. It's not just us saying it. Like, it's pretty undeniable at this point. Let's see.
My grandma once taught me when I was young, and before she passed, you show me your friends, and I will tell you who you are. This is a downright shame to see. I stand by 100% that we need more people speaking out about the harassment of others in the UFO conversation, especially here on X, and especially by this guy. Just check the comments if you don't believe me. Chumming with this guy shows zero interest in that by whomever posts a photo with him. We need action, congressional legislation written correctly, and movement of the needle by showing verifiable evidence and named witnesses when possible. Not worthless memes by a spineless coward, and especially the platforming of the aforementioned. I'll continue reporting the truth as I find it. But I will also continue to point out the armpit of X that comes along with that ride. You'll see the memes that follow this post by this trash bucket, and so be it. But the spotlighting of this little beer summit by someone who should be better than this speaks volumes.
This post by Lue Elizondo is an endorsement of the UFO community being criminally harassed by the likes of Fettuccine Split, King Milkfart, and the UFO hate
Shouts
group.
out Heather.
Lue lied straight to Vinnie Adams and everyone else's face when he said he disavows harassment in his name.
Yep.
That's
Yeah,
the other
he
thing too,
did.
right? This was like a week or two after he did that whole like I disavow it all, and then I'm gonna go to the amusement park with one of like the ringleaders and one of the worst ones, like doing this data collection, doing these memes, and also feeding information to people. I forgot to include that. He feeds information to some of these more rampant trolls like Salon and Milkfart.
Hey, Red, can I jump in for just a
Yeah.
second there? I wanted to respond about something that you just said before about, do you think that they were getting their story straight in person? And I have to tell you, 100%, I think that's what they were doing. I don't know that they necessarily that Lue made the trip to Busch Gardens just for that, but that's definitely something he would do. And there was one podcast, if you remember, it was a while back. It was where Lue had said that he got a call or a tip that the FBI were on their way to his house to raid him for top secret documents and classified materials he might have taken home illegally, and that he stashed a bunch of materials in his neighbor's barbecue at the time. And that right there tells you what his initial response is when the heat's coming. It's not to get ready to defend himself or to tell his story. It's to obstruct justice and hide evidence. That's his response, and that's exactly what he does. Like he didn't say, "Oh well, shit, the FBI's coming to my house. I'm gonna go sit on my porch and wait for him and say, what can I do for you? I haven't done nothing wrong." It's that he has to hide material that he knows he shouldn't have in his neighbor's barbecue. Okay, like nobody would do that. Nobody would do that if they weren't guilty.
He's just hiding the Cuban cigars, I bet. Yeah, right.
Also, someone's saying they can't hear me. Can you hear me better now? I don't know. Could you hear me before? I don't know.
You sound good.
Okay, cool. We'll continue along because yeah, it's crazy that he did this. Dude, Lue's wild, bro. He's crazy, dude. He really is.
Stephen Greenstreet. UFO cult leader Lue Elizondo, who the media treats with kid gloves, is being more open about his association with an army of zealotic UFO believers who attack, harass, and threaten Elizondo's critics. I have personally received death threats from within this circle of believers.
Brian Johnson and everyone else affected by the criminal coordinated gang stalking ring war rooms this guy holds, with admissible evidence in troves, send our regards.
Frank Milburn, a low-life burger boy who likes to troll far better men.
Mark. Supporting what this guy does is not it. He's just a troll who has nothing better to do than make memes harassing others. The more shit takes like this, the more I think you're just Doty 2.0 deep. Can you ask him to stop making memes of me being arrested and spreading obviously false information about the community?
Just when I was warming to Lue Elizondo, he posts a pic with someone who talks about tossing infants around like a used football. My father will roll over in his number veteran grave at this ilk.
Ross Elder. Fettuccine Split is a vile human being, and Lue singing his praises tells us a lot about Lue. I mean, aside from the deception and intentional vagueness intended to make us believe he knows something he doesn't know. Do you still stand by words of being against online harassment and doxing? Be clear on your stance. Your words, "I was never a UFO guy, I'm a counter-intel guy," resonate loudly in this picture. Riot Seeds. Oh, cool. The dude who drew the comic about the malformed abortion of Joe, Fettuccine remembers. All done in the name of you, Lou. Sounds about right. Another one for the books, Captain Lou. Nerderak. Still haven't forgiven him for the number he did on Brian Johnson. Not impressed. UFO Gogbert. Publicly posting about your travels, hanging with the low-level harassers and stalkers you claim not to know is certainly something you can do. If you're really stupid, Shinshin. If you're going to be toxic troll, it might be best to not reveal that you look like that. Amazing that Lue would even post this. The whole thing is a clown show. There is no way Lue would be directly involved with the people doxing and harassing people. I guess we can put that bullshit to rest now. The memes this guy made about my fiance, the memes he made about me and my family, and relentless efforts to dox at B-Squidding and at Cosmic Judas were disgusting. All in at Lue Elizondo's name. Here we are today, chumming it up in the wake of destruction. You are all part of a Pentagon counterintelligence psyop against the public. Lue and his crew are fake disclosure to distract the masses from the real disclosure. Come learn real intel instead. Who he thanks for what they do says it all. Do you think they discussed King Milkfart's active criminal cases?
Project Unity, mainstream UAP activism, is controlled by national security assets who use trickle-down influence tactics to enforce narratives through easily manipulated superfans who then act as parrots in an aggressive network that attacks researchers who notice any of this. That's a fact. I know this because they tried to recruit me, but I'm not as dumb or easily manipulated as the others. I saw right through this early on, so now they all have me blocked.
I thought Unity's there was a nice little summation of like what we're kind of seeing, right, in a succinct little definition there. But I don't know. What did you guys think of the community's response to this? I think kind of activated like Greenwald, you know what I mean? Especially because he was on Rogan trying to like praise Greenwald, because this group has done some crazy shit to Greenwald over the years. And
dude, it's there's people on here I've never even heard of, right? I've never even seen. Some of those responses, it's not like a unified front. This, like, his reputation is around. Everyone knows this dude is only known for harassing people. Everyone knows that. That's all he does. This "thanks for all you do" is so like shady, dude. We're all prey to these guys. Lou's saying, like, you know, you're like, this is the way it's gonna be.
Shout out Andrew, glad you're here, bro. Feeling better and better about having not bought his book. I bought 2 signed ones just for the probably shouldn't have said that, now he knows where I live, maybe. Just for the historical value. But it was like I said, I'm with John. It's just kind of disappointment is the feeling. It's just so unnecessarily, I feel, in my opinion, and it's just so many people have been affected, guys. And I could get if you're just kind of like an audience member and you're watching it and you're just kind of like not really in tune with kind of what's going on here. But I think for everyone on the panel, right, we all like know people, and like Manny, like his girlfriend was attacked by this group and she's not even part of the UFO community. Tupa's family members have been attacked during part of the UFO community. UAP Mike's sister, who has nothing to do with UFOs, like you see your friends and you see your friends' families all get like this weird treatment that you don't really see anywhere else in life. I've never experienced any kind of behavior like this online, and I've been online for like decades, right? Like,
yeah, same. Yeah, I've been doxxed a few times, but this is insane. Whatever they've got going on right now is it's insane.
Yeah, there's actually communities that you would expect to be worse for this type of behavior. Like political communities can get pretty heated. There's even a blood sport community where people go after each other, like not for fun, but it's just kind of what they do, like try to dig up dirt on people, and they don't go to the level that some of these people have gone to. And I think it really just shows, one, how invested these people are in this. They think that they are really fighting the fight for some kind of world-changing, paradigm-changing event, and it's not going to happen. I mean, this is the modern-day version of drinking the Kool-Aid.
It really is.
That's exactly what you're seeing here. People, and there's little steps that got us here. It's not like it just happened overnight. I mean, it's been, since 2020 when Lue joined Twitter. He didn't just start this right off the bat, but there was little things, going to war with the, like Dr. Greer and some of the other big names in the community, and giving them the idea of, if you don't get on my boat, then I'm going to run you over, doing things like dehumanizing people by calling them pseudo skeptics and debunkers, ignoring people who ask legitimate questions, but then going on and having people like Tom Fessler and Rob Heatherly dox and attack them. It was a gradual process. It's gotten us to just the stupid level that we're at today, but now it's come to a head. And when you take a step back, you look at it and you're like, wow, this is all real fucked. And it's really toxic and it's really bad. And I'd say that it's only a matter of time till somebody gets really hurt. People have already been hurt, there's people, there's been murders there. Multiple, not just
it's
one.
such a big web, and I was telling you guys, I was like, maybe I'm going to do a Big Phone Home thing or something like that. But there's so many different stories that brush up against this thing that are interconnected, but also their own totally different things that also are interesting, because a lot of people are like experiencers or have some interesting UFO thing, like Jeremy McGowan, like his whole kind of like 90s UFO experience is interesting on its own right. But then also he kind of brushes up against this. Lue Reviews does. A lot of other people brush up against this. So I think what I'm going to do is probably, and as you said, there was a murder related to this that was totally covered up in the UFO community, related to like, craziness that we're going to cover. I don't know if I'm going to do a telethon thing or just kind of intertwine these between, like, I know people just want their UFO-tainment, you know what I mean? Like, they don't want to talk about the real issues sometimes, which is very disappointing that in a UFO community, right, where we're supposed to be so wary of the government, it's like everyone's just kind of opened their legs to this counter intel agent who's doing all these really horrible things that are, honestly, a lot of them are tried and true discrediting tactics, either from the intelligence community or from like religious organizations like Scientology, right? And people just turn a blind eye to it because he has actually done a lot of good, quote unquote, for getting disclosure and like UFOs into the mainstream. But at the same time, I'm of the belief that all the good he's doing is just going to be like 2 steps back kind of thing, because his resume is kind of like totally in shambles, right? All of the people around him are calling him a liar. And then on top of that, you have all this crazy harassment that's been going on to maintain this lie that, like, I think it's really going to kill things. I don't know. Tupa, any thoughts to the reactions from everyone or to this?
I think he's going to be alienating himself and kind of bunkering down even more. You know what I mean? That's what we can expect from this. But yeah, that's it. I mean, I'm really proud of the community for responding and not being afraid to call him out, publicly, and be like, oh, this is bullshit. Like, to see that many people do it, hopefully it gives more people, the courage to kind of like stand up to this bullshit, because, there was this like idea perpetrated by the kinds of people who just do this corny, weird, gross stuff, that like Lue Elizondo represented disclosure, and he represented like UFO belief and like the UFO community. He doesn't represent the UFO community. He preys upon the UFO community. That's a totally different thing. Like, he wants to manipulate it. He wants to reshape it. He wants to infiltrate it. He's a militarized person. You know what I mean? It's like so weird. Like a control freak.
But he's sloppy.
Very sloppy.
he's not good at it, and that's going to be the downfall. And if there are people that are listening that are close to him and are partaking in whatever it is he has you convinced, first of all, document it. Second of all,
everything. If you're on the inside still, everything.
Get away from it and start crying foul now, because this guy is not going to lead you anywhere good. No one has been anywhere good with him. Everybody I know is just, this is so eye roll at this point. Like, I don't know why he's doing this, and it's bad.
And you, even when you went whistleblower back in April, you were still kind of holding out that maybe Lue isn't like running it or knows, but it's like, no, by this point, you know. And I just threw this graphic up here. This is a representation of salami tactics, which is something they've been doing. And it's basically the idea of like, you go, and it's kind of a Cold War term of like, you're either going to make them like capitalist or communist. You go kind of like one country at a time. And that's kind of what we saw happen in the UFO community. This structure, those gross things you saw said about Joyce and some of the gross things that they were trying to find information about me and Tupa, they've been doing this to people since like 2018, 2019. But they just got away with it so long by making it look like drama from the outside and just going methodologically, or whatever the word is, like one person after the other. So it creates this environment where no one trusts each other. The people who have been attacked don't want to help the people who are currently being attacked because they didn't help them when they were getting attacked, you know, stuff like that. And it just, that's how they've been able to get away with it so long. But luckily, fortunately, now by this point, unfortunate for all the people who had to deal with it in the early waves, there's been such a pattern of it that it's so clear. And there's so many people have been targeted. And honestly, they kind of do a good job of letting you know, like, who in the UFO field has an independent voice that's like probably worth listening to is probably someone this group goes after, right? It's like, I think they're opposite effect. But real quick, I'll just going to read out some super chats. Joseph, I forget if I read this one or not, but Joseph says, Cork Goran says, you do make exceptional videos. Thank you, sir. Silver Star Gazer, Lue was sent to carry out a counter intel op to destroy the UFO community from the inside. They're using UAP to cover the tech like Ashton is exposing. Interesting take. I do think when you look at everything Lue's done, I don't think he was necessarily sent here to do that, but that's like kind of what's happened is like I think people still haven't really seen the full of it yet, and we're starting to really see it percolate and with the J Stratton and Elizondo stuff. But like when it's all said and done, we're gonna look back and be like, damn, like I think a lot of people are gonna be like, I wish we would have called out some of this stuff earlier, right? But you know, that's how it goes. And then Logan Black, friend of the show and lovely mod, says super sticker, which I can't really see what it is. But yeah, so there's two more slides I wanted to get through. Let's see what we got here. So now apparently this was a few months back, but I think this might be all in relation to this uplifting tweet stuff, because I didn't see this online until today. Have you guys seen this before today? Anyone?
I've heard about it.
Yeah, I've heard about it. But this is Michele Stratton, wife of Jay Stratton, writing on Discord, saying, for transparency, I regret ever telling people to trust Lue. First, right off the bat, that's a huge statement. I regret ever telling people. There's like an element of shame there, right? And I think a lot of people can feel that. I think Lue Reviews definitely feels that. I kind of feel it too. I think that's why I was so motivated to kind of like take a year off of my channel and like figure out what's going on and try and combat it in my own ways. And like, because like we bring people into this subject, right? And I wasn't even aware of this mechanism. It's like, I know people who got into this subject from my videos and then got hit by this mechanism. And it's just like, oh, it just makes you feel gross and dirty and regretful, honestly. So she continues, she says, or I'll start over. For transparency, I regret ever telling people to trust Lue because ATIP was not a real program. For starters, he was never the director of, the head of, or the leader of ATIP/OSAP. He wasn't involved for almost a decade, as he says. He never did UAP investigations for the government. There is more, but I am not at liberty to put it out right now. And it's important that we emphasize for the people listening that this whole harassment mechanism that we talked about here that I'm going to continue to cover on this channel, that's how this stuff got so far. There's definitely an element where it's like, okay, why are they all saying it now? But for like the broader community in the narrative, right? Like Stephen Greenstreet was saying this early on. John Greenwald was kind of raising these questions early on, and they were kind of targeted by this group, which when you look back on it, it's like, dude, they were doing this. And that's kind of where I came to it. I came to it the other way of Greenstreet, where I saw this group dynamic at play, and I was like, oh, something's not right here. I didn't really take the time to like deep dive into Lue because I was doing all my historical documentaries during like this time when this was all percolating up. But yeah, it's like this mechanism was used to maintain a lie, and I think a lot of people are going to feel really dumb and really stupid. Like, for example, this is Lue Elizondo's quote unquote boss, his boss's wife saying this. Like, I regret ever telling people to trust Lue. What do you guys think of this statement? I think it's huge.
This is huge. This is what Green Street had been talking about, I guess, a while back when he said there was a rift in the whatever, which, kind of gets me a little irked because Green Street has definitely been sitting on this information for a long time. But, regardless, that is really bad for Elizondo for that to be to have come out.
And a lot of people have been sitting on this for a while. I was sitting on this. I never saw proof. I just heard that it happened, and I just didn't want to speak without knowing because it was so crazy what I heard happened, which was this, and that's why Green Street was like, "Yo, I have evidence of this, all of it. I have the receipts." And so, like, a lot of, even like when David Lanier came out and kind of let it spill that this had taken place, dude, there's so much more.
Shouts out Steve Long. He says, because Elizondo came along and stole Greer's grifting insider gig, LOL. Greer was the biggest name in ufology until Lue came along. That's why Greer was so fast to scrutinize him, not because he's diligent. That is a pretty interesting take, but it does show, like, they hate Greer. They hate anyone else who has a voice. They hate Ashton, right, because he's independent. They hate Vetted because Vetted's independent and doesn't, like, go along with their little things. But yeah, no, this statement is wild. Manny, what are your thoughts on this Discord messages leak?
I think it's great. I think it's damning, and I think it just confirms, like what we've heard, like what David Lanier came out and said, some of the grumblings from Green Street and other people, the rumors. It's just it's confirming for all that, and I think it's also kind of forecasting the tone that we're going to see in Jay's book when it comes out, which should be not too long from now. As far as I know, he's got a book deal with HarperCollins, the same company that published Lue's book, that was negotiated by Dan Farah. And I think Dan's got the option to do a movie on it if there's enough interest. So that should be.
Dude, I heard there's some major shit going on behind the scenes with that hopefully we'll get a cover at some point here. But I heard it's like, I honestly kind of feel bad for Lue. I don't, though, because I've seen a lot of my friends be pretty, honestly, in some cases, traumatized by some of the stuff that he's done. But his world is just crumbling all around him. I do kind of have pity for the guy on that front.
I would, but he's created this house of cards around him, and so when it crashes on his head, it's all on him. And to go back to something that I think it was Mike said earlier about him being sloppy in this operation, 100% he's sloppy, and that's because this wasn't his job. This wasn't what he did. He didn't run operations at the Pentagon. He was a desk jockey. He was an administrator. He was a faceless bureaucrat who Walter made his way through every day thinking that he'd rather be out in the field being a super spy, but now he's got a chance to play these games. He's screwing up. He's making decisions like taking a selfie with fettuccine split at Busch Gardens, like throwing it in the face of everyone, thinking that he can talk his way out of it, or that nobody's going to realize exactly what that means. But too many people are calling attention to it, and it's something that I said, I think, in a space that we were all in before, where I said, he underestimates his community, and he thinks we're just a bunch of idiot dweebs that live in our mama's basement and sit in our underwear playing Xbox and watch X-Files and talk about UFOs. Like, he just doesn't understand the level of research and dedication some of these people have in this community. So that's going to be his undoing at some point. I think we're seeing that now.
Yeah. And I guess for the panel, right, we got Tupa here, who's had an infamous Discord leak that shook ufology. Which Discord leak has shaken ufology more, do you think? Chupacabra's or Jay Stratton's wife here, Michele?
I'm biased, so I'm gonna say mine, but Michelle's is up there, dude. If I think there's more that's gonna come out, that's gonna then take the lead.
Yeah,
I think Michelle's statement. Yeah. I think Michelle's statement here is like this is the toothpaste that doesn't get put back in the tube. To steal Lue's metaphor.
Yeah, like he could have maybe danced out of some things here and there, and that's why he was glazing them all up. Like Silver Star Gazer says, it's like Lue praising Greenwald on Rogan. It's a form of gaslighting. he's been praising Greenwald, Stratton, Eric Davis, Lukatsky on like every podcast he's been on.
Yeah, Lukatsky's a rocket scientist.
And you know, like it's just so awkward because it's like, you know, he's only doing that because he's like begging them to not out him because he knows, like what Mike said, like if these people turn on him, it's like different than like Panda and Tupa being like, you know, I mean, these are.
Well, dude, he's been stealing their shine for like 7 years. He's been claiming their work as his for 7 years. Now he's out here. He's like, oh, like he's just trying to glaze them up. Like you said, it's so obvious, dude. Like, oh, like these guys are coming after me now for having stolen their shine. You know what's crazy to me is a lot of people can't piece this together. They're still so enamored with this whole disclosure process, with the chance of getting it. They can't see that this group set up a time release situation. They plotted this out, and when Lue started to lie, they just kind of were nerds about it, and like, well, Lue's out there, like, because Lue's got the mic, and he knows that none of these other guys are going to take the mic from him. So while he's in the moment, he starts just kind of, you know, asserting himself, taking more credit than what he deserves. And in order to like get more interviews, he's now borrowing from these other people's stories, filling up his own resume, and just trying to take that shit. And these guys just kind of like couldn't say anything because they let too many things slide. They were all willing to lie a little bit to get a lot. Right? They were like, okay, it's all for the cause. Like, that should tell you something, dude. If all these guys were sitting around willing to let the inaccuracies of the 2017 article just permeate throughout the community, because if they start calling it out, you know, that says one of two things for me. Either that they just kept going like it's not going to be a big deal in the end, it's all good, or they were held hostage by Lue Elizondo out there lying, being the best speaker.
That's what I think it
in
was
the group.
too, and that's what makes Lue just such a snake, in my opinion. He's one, partaking in all this horrible behavior, and then two, like holding the entire community hostage. And one of the things that really just like upset me, right? Because I do so much of this like historical stuff, right? I was thinking of just like Stanton Friedman and like, you know, Donald Kehoe and James McDonald, just like their idea of like what disclosure would look like, you know. And I like to think, you know, it might be kind of, I don't know, sissy to be like, it should be like a beautiful thing, right? It should be like a open, honest thing. There shouldn't be this element that's like so sick and demented, and like the art that they like and the tactics they go through to silence people is just, it just is such a, to me, it just spits on the grave of like all the people in ufology from way before there was ever a Lue Elizondo. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Shameful.
Shameful. All right, well, we got one more slide. So, and for everyone who's like, this doesn't matter, this is dumb drama. So remember, we had our little reactions thing, which people could go watch again. All the reactions to this SCIF. This was Lue's response to all the reactions, and I'll read it. To both my friends and my haters, we can agree to disagree, but the threat of violence and harassment is not acceptable on any level. Contrary to conspiracy theories, I don't condone this behavior directed at anyone. If disclosure fails, it's because the community has eaten itself. So I ask all of you to please engage in healthy discourse and don't allow emotions to dictate actions on all sides. Does anyone want to go first on that?
More gaslighting, dude. This is pathetic. Pathetic, dude. And then this whole like holier than thou, he's the dad, he gets to dictate why the kids didn't get to have dessert tonight. Like, get the bro. That's so dumb. Such a lack of respect.
And for me, it goes to show the severity, right? We had Matt Ford saying that senators see this harassment, NASA scientists seeing it, him finally having to address it. And it was in the response to his picture with uplifting tweets that he says, if disclosure fails, it's because the community has eaten itself. Like, he's linking the failure of disclosure to people noticing his associations with these people, right? We didn't, like, I've been saying it for a while, but like Greenwald didn't really say that. You know, he's linking that. And I think that's, like Manny said the other day in a space, like, he's, like, in my opinion, he's letting you guys all know that, like, this whole hate group thing is going to bury it all, in my opinion. Because he didn't say this when James Lukatsky and the whole OSEP ATIP timeline was coming up, right? He said this when everyone was calling out that he's interacting with these worst harassers that have done this to hundreds of people. I think that's worth noting.
Yeah, and if you look at his past behavior, this is kind of what he does, is when something's about to come crashing down around his head, he'll try to get out there first and get his side of the story out there. So there's definitely there's something coming. You know, it could be a month out or 2 months out, but there's something coming, and he's trying to get ahead of it with distance himself from people like this. Although taking pictures with them and signing posters for them and things like that is not a good idea. You know, like that's the hubris in him. That's his arrogance in him, thinking that he can get away with it and that he can just throw it in everyone's face and say one thing officially, but do something else behind the scenes. So, you know, like, yeah, I think he's just showing that there's something coming, something big, and it's probably has to do with Stratton, I think.
Yeah, and go for it, Mike.
Yeah, so I was going to say this is the height of absurdity from Lue Elizondo to think that, you know, the community would somehow be responsible for disclosure failing. The two things that really bother me is if he considers himself a leader in any fashion, to say from a leadership position that it's everyone else's fault and not his, right, is just completely the opposite of what people should be saying in a leadership position. And the other thing is, this is the guy who said, let's kill ufology, right? He is encouraging, right, this kind of like this discourse and discontent in the community. And then now it's like, well, it's all your fault.
Yeah, and it's just because people are noticing his associations, right? Like, I didn't have an association with Uplifting Tweets. You know, I'm not. We're just noticing yours. You know what I mean? It's crazy. I think he's letting you know. Real quick too, predictions on what Stratton's wife. We had some comments about that too. What do you think she's referring to? And she says there's more, but I'm not at liberty to put it out right now. What do you guys? Let's just get some predictions out there just for fun, I guess. What might be coming down the pipeline?
Well, I mean, go back to what David Lanier said, right? Like the idea, there's a lot that he said, that she said, outright calling him a fraud. The whole thing about the Harry Reid letter, dude, like this is going to go deep. If anyone can back up this unnamed billionaire telling Lue that if he doesn't set the record straight about Harry Reid, that his kids won't be able to afford shoes, I'd love to see that. Because here's my fear for Lue. If that really happened, I think that there could be like some like lawsuits, like all this money that he has now, all this attention he's gotten, that could serve as a really big problem, right? Because like if someone was going to sue him for lying or for, you know, whatever was possible, right? Like whatever Bigelow, the unnamed billionaire, was trying to threaten him with. I mean, you know, you go out on this like 98 podcast post book tour and you push this book that maybe skirts the line of like lying or in like telling the truth, but then, you know, you go on all these different shows and you're providing contradictory information. If this dude didn't get, if Michele Stratton, if all of these statements come out, then there's going to be a lot of people asking very serious questions, and I think that unnamed billionaire will be named and might actually have to respond to these statements. It's going to be crazy, dude. Imagine getting a full-blown interview with Stratton, right? Imagine it. And on Weaponized or something, and he's just like, dude, no. Elizondo's
on
a
Red
liar.
Panda Koala, maybe.
Oh, man, that'd be
This
amazing.
would be a great spot for you, Jay, if you're out there. I think he's had some people in his camp maybe trying to reach out. I don't know. Because I think what I'm proud of us here, and although Manny might be a little bit of a debunker, we can't let the quote unquote debunkers own this thing, right? And for a while there, it was kind of really only Green Street, and Greenwald, who I wouldn't consider a debunker there. But I think it's important that like we have our own side calling this out, because imagine if no one was calling it out on our side, like it would just all look so bad. And I said 2 years ago when it all kind of hit me, like what was really going on here. And then as we saw for 2 years, just kind of what we suspected going on play out, you know what I mean? That like, I really think Lue is going to be in a lot of legal trouble, especially as he said, Tupa, with like how high his profile is now and like how famous he's getting and all this stuff. It's crazy. It's unfortunate, man. But yeah, that's the last slide. Does anyone have any closing thoughts, or you guys want to shill anything you guys are working on and whatnot?
Oh yeah, go follow my YouTube account. Also check out the UFO timeline, set to be released within a very short amount of time. But yeah, this was a great show, dude. Lue's using his platform to gaslight and prepare for what's coming should tell us everything. You know what I mean? He just went on like a lot of the main, he was on Trump's son's podcast, dude. And this is what he's choosing to do with his time and his public image. Take photographs with known harassers at Busch Gardens and then come over here and then try to like do that whole projection as admission thing by blaming the community for his own actions. Pretty alarming stuff. I think Manny's right. Let's see what's going on, dude. Time will tell.
Yeah. Manny?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good time to be in this thing. There's a lot of people looking at it from different angles. A lot more stuff's coming out. And, like, just like we know that when things like this bust open, it's kind of like a dam, and there's going to be a lot more. It's not just going to be Michele Stratton. There's going to be people, a lot more people like LM or people who
Agreed.
Were behind the scenes who've got some receipts that are going to be like, me too. Look what I got. I got this one, voicemail from the guy. I've got this text. I've got this email, and I think there's just going to be a flood that once it starts, you just can't stop it. So I'm glad to be here for when it happens. I'm glad to see this finally, like it's been long overdue, but
we feel like we've been in the trenches for a long time. You were in the trenches for like 2 whole years or a year and a half before us, right? Like, it's a lot different than it was, and especially in 2018 when Zach Zishy and them were going through it. I'm pretty proud of the community, right? It took some time, and there's definitely been some people that I've been very disappointed in that kind of got swept up in the access game and just kind of turning a blind eye. But at this stage of the community, and it might seem like a bummer episode, I am actually happy for all the shit we've been through, like where it's heading. But it is unfortunate still.
Yeah, and what are all those people going to do when they lose their access? Like when this grift comes crashing down, what's Liberation Times going to? Who are they going to cite? Like they're so reliant on these sources, which we all know are. We're looking at one of them on the screen there, and if not him, then it's the guy who's telling him what to think. So it's like what are all these people going to do? Because in a lot of ways, the new ufology / disclosure movement post 2017, more post 2020, has really become so reliant on these people for narrative and control and direction that if they were to just suddenly disappear, it would kind of be like a ship without a captain. Like everyone would kind of go everywhere. There'd be a power vacuum, and people like David Wilcock and Stephen Greer and everyone else, Richard Dolan, they'd all be crawling out of the woodwork to grab a chunk of the pie. So we got to be careful and make sure that doesn't happen. That like as this thing comes crashing down, that we're not just replacing our figureheads in this field with people who are going to do the same thing, and instead it's people who are going to look out for the community and bring some measure of truth and balance to it, checks and balances. So that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, and remember, check out Manny and check out Tupa's timeline. Manny did the Who's Lue documentary. He also you put out one that you kind of did with a bigger partner on Mandela Effect. You've been in the studio today, probably working on something else.
Yeah, I've been working with Bob Kiviat, who I don't know if people know did the alien autopsy film or documentary for Fox back in the day. He's done a bunch of other stuff, Aliens on the Moon. Yeah, he's done a bunch of other stuff too. Go look him up on IMDb. He's got 30 years experience in the ufology field. And
what's his take on all the disclosure bros?
Oh, I can't speak for him, but let's just say him and I see eye to eye on quite a few things.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot of those old guard kind of Facebook, like Jan Eldridge and some of these like old like 1990s, 1980s researchers kind of got whiff of this kind of early and kind of just like steer clear of this group. You know what I mean?
I've been surprised at people who have bucked the UFO gravy train, so to speak. People who I wouldn't have thought would join on and people who I thought who would kind of call it out, haven't been. So it's like, it's kind of interesting. Even people like Secure Team 10, even he can't stand these people, like Tyler Glockner just did a video a couple months ago calling out alleged whistleblowers and he was really tame. He wasn't like calling, it wasn't anything like what we talk about, but for him, that was a huge flag in the sand. And I was surprised to see that. There's some other bigger YouTube channels that have too that I thought maybe would have just jumped on board because it was easy pickings, and it doesn't seem to be the case. It's the smaller ones. It's the Tom Fesslers, the Matt Fords, like some of these other smaller podcasts that came out of nowhere and overnight had 20, 30, 40, 50,000, subscribers and stuff, and have just been here, like even though they couldn't tell you anything that happened in the field before 2020, let alone the last 2 years, So it's kind of interesting to see who's on what side of this thing. But
yeah, it's like it reminds me of like kind of like some kind of Lord of the Flies type social experiment, because this community and this subject is already in like this kind of gray lawlessness zone where there's just like it's so rife with scams and scam artists and like fake stuff because it's kind of been in the like, you know, it's not like a legitimate subject, right, in a lot of the world. And then too, you have just kind of this crazy guy doing all this crazy doxing and harassment stuff, and just people don't know. Everyone kind of reacts to it differently, and it's pretty interesting to see. But yeah, what about you, Mike? What you got going on?
All right, yeah, no, I mean, check us out, UFO Lake Group on YouTube, and check us out on TikTok too. We're on there. We got 5,000 followers, good videos.
You have 5,000 followers on TikTok?
Yeah,
Oh,
we've got
nice,
a bunch of
bro.
good vids out there. So,
Nice.
but this is trending in a way that seems pretty predictable. So, thank you for covering it.
No, thank you guys. And honestly, like a lot of the information we covered tonight was because Mike went whistleblower, and as we saw, like they have very serious. Just so you guys know, like basically TLDR, Mike was trying to get a restraining order just to kind of stop all this harassment, and the local prosecutor there looked at the stuff and said like, oh no, this is like criminal, and like they want to investigate it separate of like anything Mike or his wife want, you know. So shouts out to you guys. I think you guys activated a lot of people. I know you guys have like helped other people kind of draft their things, and I still have to do mine, but they're signing affidavits. It just takes time. People don't have time, don't have money, don't want to do it, you know, but I'm proud of everyone kind of getting it along, and it's unfortunate, but yeah, you know, it's not a fun stream, but I'm glad to be here with you guys who've called it out too and kind of taken the brunt of it, and you know, it is what it is, you know. But yeah. I guess with that, I'm going to go ahead and close it out. Thank you guys so much.
Good shit, dog.
Yeah,
good
right?
stream. This was
Thank you
awesome,
guys.
and
Thank
it's
you,
really
chat.
it is really good to get this out, dude. It's really good. So
And we're going to
thanks.
keep doing it, and we're going to mix it in with kind of like the more fun UFO stuff, but there's so many different angles to it. You can't just do it in one stream. There's probably like 5 or 6 different streams that we could show, like just how intricate and how widespread, and yeah, it's pretty wild. But yeah,
Dude, it's wild.
All right.
And your chat's dope. Very active.
The chat's fun, right? Thank you,
Yeah.
chat. It was great stuff. Great stuff tonight. Great mods. Love y'all. We'll probably be in a space or something after this, but yeah, thank you. And again, I'm working on my Spielberg stuff. I'm trying to do maybe 2 live streams a week, and then, you know, still working on my documentaries, which take forever to edit. I wish I could produce them faster, trust me. But yeah. All right. Well, with that, thank you guys. Thank you to my panel. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.
Peace.